Yeah. Good morning and welcome to the Mike Graham Show. I'm terribly sorry to say that we've come to you slightly late this morning, 2 minutes past 7. I was just getting my hair cut before we started, and the person who's done it was just giving me a little trim, because obviously we're arranging for a proper haircut to be done, and we think it's going to be done by Dan from Oldham, a very famous hairdresser apparently, and we'll tell you more about him. He's coming down on, I think, the 27th, I think it is, Friday the 27th.
Sounds good.
He's going to cut my hair during the plank of the week, or plonk of the week, I should say. But we just gave it a little trim today, just to make. And what do you think? I mean, do you think it looks better? Anybody got a view?
Too much off.
Pooch thinks they've taken too much off. You tell me whether you like it better like now, or whether you think we should have another go. Anyway, as you can see behind me, the international clock is working well. The other clock isn't working quite so well, but we're trying to fix that. Also, update on the sign. Have we got an update? Did they pick it up yesterday,
Yeah,
Pooch?
picked it up.
They picked it up. Hurrah!
So
So they picked it up from Pooch's house yesterday, and when did they say they're going to bring it back?
they didn't.
They didn't say when they're bringing it back. So we'll have the sign back at some point. We've got loads and loads of things to talk about this morning, including, of course, all of the news headlines. Front page of the Times has got a picture. Funnily enough, I was watching Top Gun with my son the other night, and there's a picture, a very Top Gun, sort of reminiscent Top Gun type picture. B-18 and B-1B Lancer bombers capable of carrying 24 cruise missiles each at RAF Fairford in Gloucestershire. Keir Starmer has apparently approved defensive US action from the base. Do you think Starmer's an idiot? Honestly, does he think that he can tell us there's a difference between sending a fighter jet or a bomber into the skies on the basis that it's defending us as opposed to attacking somebody else? I mean, if you've got a B-1B Lancer bomber, which is complete with missiles on it, complete with cruise missiles, 24 each, right? How is that in any way defensive? I mean, I'm not arguing the case that it should be in some way wrong to attack Iran. I'm not saying that we should be in support of those countries who are not wishing to attack Iran. What I'm saying is that it's a logical, complete and utter misnomer. Because at the end of the day, if you're in a plane and you hit a button which has got a big red sign on it which goes bang, and you go, I've just sent a cruise missile off to kill off a bunch of people, or I've sent it to hit an Iranian ship, or I've sent it to hit an Iranian target, or I've sent it to hit some Iranian people. How is that a defensive move? Like I say, I'm not arguing philosophically whether or not it's something that we should be doing. All I'm saying is that how can Keir Starmer make out that there's a difference between having a jet with bombs on it and missiles on it doing what he calls defensive work, and or actually attacking people and killing them? I don't see the difference. Stephen Barrett's here. He's a lawyer. Maybe he can explain in a minute. US bombers take off from Britain for attack on Iran. It says the front page of the Times. Well, presumably that means we are involved in attacking Iran, doesn't it? I don't know. Here's one from the front page of the Daily Mail. A banned pro-Iran hate march, and this is on Mother's Day. Supporters of Tehran's murderous women-oppressing regime are due to rally in London. And today the Daily Mail says, surely the Home Secretary should ban this particular march. We spoke about it yesterday with Jean Hatchett. I think that's absolutely right, and it should be the case. Lots of other headlines around the Iran scenario. Donald Trump basically saying, as he said yesterday, that it's all over and we shouldn't really worry about it because it's all going to be very soon coming to an end, which will be very good news for people who are paying bucket loads of money for their petrol, bucket loads of money for their heating oil as well. US bombers used British bases to attack the Iranians, apparently. That's what it says here. Prices soar at the pumps, page 11 of the Times. We're going to be talking about Plank of the Day later on. Warship sails off to the Med. I don't know whether you saw it yesterday, but yesterday afternoon there was footage down at Portsmouth of the ship that we're supposed to be sending to save everybody in Cyprus, right? HMS, whatever the hell it's... What's it called?
Dragon.
HMS Dragon, yeah, that's right. And it was sailing off really, really slowly. And I just thought to myself, is this the world's worst navy? Right? It looked as though it was sailing off to be a ferry on to the Isle of Wight. You know, if you want a ticket to ride, you get on HMS Dragon and it takes you there because it manages to traverse the Solent. And it's taking so long to get to Cyprus that by the time it gets there, the whole war scenario will probably be over. And it's kind of embarrassing. I watched it with a sort of sense of dread. I thought, is this really where we are? Is this really where Britannia rules the waves has got to? Rule Britannia, Britannia rules the waves, Britain will never be slaves. That's the song, right? Which apparently lots of people don't like singing anymore. And I don't mind them not singing it, to be honest, because frankly, it's not true. But we used to rule the waves. Now we can't actually get out of port in Portsmouth. We can't actually get to the Isle of Wight. You can't actually get to Ventnor, which is on the south side of the Isle of Wight. It's shocking. It's embarrassing. It's awful. Anyway, listen, also, Joey Barton's in the news again. He's on the front page of The Sun. Joey Barton remanded in custody yesterday after allegedly battering a dad, leaving him potentially blinded in one eye. Now, we can't talk too much about the case because it's a case which is active. But you have to say, Joey Barton does seem to have trouble following him around, doesn't he? He really does. He had to pay out 300,000 quid yesterday to one of those female sports broadcasters. What's her face? Annie Aluko. 300,000 quid because he insulted her on Twitter. Dangerous business, that. We have to be careful. Stephen Barrett's here. Stephen, very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning to you.
I don't know if you share my slight chagrin at watching HMS Dragon taking off from Portsmouth yesterday, looking more like a sort of limp, sort of hopeless ferry than, what you might call a stiff, uprising kind of, method of attack. It just was kind of pathetic. It was just I felt kind of embarrassed for them.
Yeah, I mean, I like to separate out the fact that I still respect those who serve in our Navy. I think that's important to just get out there. None of this is their fault.
No.
This is compounded failure year after year after year by Labour and Conservative politicians and by the civil service, which has led us to have almost no Navy. And it's pathetic and France, I think, was rubbing our nose in it by demonstrating quite how powerful their Navy is.
Yes.
And for us to be in a position where France's Navy is incredibly powerful and ours is pathetic and weak is I think, an absolute failure for our country. It is time we woke up. We are a country, we are a benefits agency with a country attached. We spend most of our money on people who've come here and don't work. We don't have a functioning health service in any realistic way. We don't have a military, and we just employ lots of people in pointless non-jobs. That's what public money goes on.
Yeah, but we found out yesterday that of the number of people who have been settled here, settled status given to them by the government, 700,000 odd people over the last few years, about a quarter of them, 25%, which is a fairly large number, are claiming universal benefit. And you think, well, as Kelvin Mackenzie said yesterday, it's all very well to welcome people into this country. We want to be a welcoming country. We want to be civilised. We want to be, doing the right thing. But this is just taking the mickey, isn't it?
Yeah, it's obviously taking the mickey, and it's well beyond recognising that. And we've been sort of traumatised into not pointing this out. We've been called racist and all of the, and by the way, and I like to point this out time and time again, calling us racist only works because we're not racist. But it has worked for a very long time. For a very long time, it has scared many of us out of the fact of pointing out that bringing people here to live on benefits is not sustainable. We can't afford it. It's a stupid thing to do. There are potentially an infinite number of humans, and there is not an infinite amount of space here. There's not an infinite amount of money here. It's not an infinite amount of school places, not an infinite amount of GP appointments. It's just a war on maths at this point. But this is what the left are doing. They don't like reality, so they sort of go to war with it. I think we should treat the left more like a mental health crisis, Mike. And yes. I don't think we should get terribly angry at them. I just think we should ignore absolutely everything they say.
Yes.
And we should stay with common sense and logic and reason. And when they say, have you got any evidence for that? You often don't need evidence. Just work it out from basic principles. If infinite amounts of people come here, we will go bankrupt. They won't all work. They actually can't all work because we won't have infinite jobs. So you just start from basic first principles, which is that this cannot be sustained.
No, it can't. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist or a mathematician or a very cleverly sort of educated economist to come up with that, because when you bring in, loads of things into the bath, when you've got a child in it, the water level rises. And eventually, if you keep doing it, the water level will rise to such an extent that it will overflow and then it will damage the bathroom. And then you'll have to get somebody in to fix the floor. These are things which are obvious to everyone, but apparently not obvious to the British government.
No, they're not obvious to the lefties because they believe in cult ideas, and that's fine. And we should be a pluralistic society where people are allowed to believe in absolutely bonkers things if they want to. I just don't think that they should be in government. I think it's really important that we get these people out of government. And one of the problems we have, and I think it's about time we admitted this as a country, is that at the moment, the best thing you can say about the Conservative Party is that they failed because these ideas are embedded in the civil service. And we're really going to have to face this. There is no way. I don't see how a future government avoids dealing with the fact that the civil service is utterly captured.
Yeah.
So the Treasury believes that importing endless migrant men is somehow profitable. Now, it's not, and I think that's obviously stupid, and I think you and I probably agree on that. Mike and I think anybody with a bit of common sense agrees on that. But the Treasury genuinely believe that importing endless migrant men will make us rich. How? I don't know. But the fact that the Treasury believe it has to be tackled. We have to deal with it.
Yes, absolutely right. I mean, this is the thing, that we have this kind of, sort of stick your fingers in your ears policy of, it's all very well. Let's just talk about, we're going to improve the NHS. We're going to make it easier for you to get an appointment with a doctor. We're going to make it easier for you to, spend less time on a waiting list because, we are actually improving things. And you kind of go, do you actually really seriously believe that anybody is listening to what you're now saying? And do you really seriously believe that anybody gives a stuff about this sort of tinkering around the edges of the volcano as we're all about to fall into the middle of it?
Well, this is why I think we treat it like a mental health crisis. We should pat those people on the head, wrap them in comfortable, warm, cozy straitjackets and take them off to an asylum somewhere, because it's just nonsense.
Yeah.
And it's not even, there's no point arguing with these people. And, we're not, on my side of this politically, we're not aggressive. We're not even angry yet. We will get there. But, this just cannot go on. Just in a very polite, very nice, loving way, we cannot go on like this. So we are going to have to change how we do everything. There is no money for ships, because we are wasting it all on benefits and unnecessary employees.
Yes.
We are wasting it. What both parties fell into, what both the Conservatives and Labour fell into, is this charming comfort blanket of an idea that government can do everything. Government can somehow fix every part of your life.
Yes.
And we're at the nth degree of all this. Government will feed your child. So after I do this, Mike, I won't have to go downstairs and do a lunchbox for my child, because apparently the government will do it.
Yes.
I don't have to go downstairs and check, or I didn't have to get my child breakfast this morning because government will do it. This is absolutely ridiculous. Government cannot do everything, and government is failing at everything it tries to do. It's utterly incompetent.
But that is surely the point, Stephen, as well, that, the government, which would like to overarchingly investigate your life, would like to kind of tell you how to live, tell you how to be a parent, tell you what you should do with your child, tell you how to, bring the child up, tell you what you should, investigate in terms of what they are thinking, make sure that they know that everybody should be treated equal, and if you a man with a dress on, that you should be treated as a woman. All of that absolute and utter nonsense, right? And we are inveigled and invaded every single day by government kind of, priorities of what you should say about Muslim people, how you should be very, very careful not to upset anyone, to cause distress to them. Bugger off is what I would say. Leave me alone. They used to say in America, get out of my bedroom, get out of my kitchen, get out of my house. You've got no business telling me what I do when I'm in my own space, right? If I wish to do, what's the most ridiculous thing I can think of? If I want to wear a dress in the bedroom, if I want to, practice, snake charming or something, if I want to start swallowing swords, for want of a better word, the government has got no business peering into my, window to see what I'm doing. Absolutely no chance at all. Thank you very much indeed. But then we have them today trying to make out that they're on the one hand not attacking Iran, but on the other hand attacking Iran. Like, are we attacking them or are we not attacking them?
Yes, I love that, and I love the fact that you picked up on that. And I feel ordinary people are coming to law. I think you're all coming to join me because you're noticing that definitions matter, and that they just lie. They just make stuff up. They're not attacking. They're defending aggressive. What?
So we're flying some jets off, which are dropping bombs on people. But don't worry, it's defensive. It's defensive.
Defensive bomb. I stab you in a defensive way.
Yes.
I mean, it's just absurd, but it does warm my heart, mate, because if you can all realize that this is nonsense and they're lying about this definition, then you'll start to notice that they lie about every definition.
Yes.
It's like the Chagos Islands. They just lie. It's not true. We don't have to give these things away. There is no compulsion at all. They invoke law not as law is a real thing, and it should be engaged in. It's the process of defining words. That's all it is. Process of defining words, getting clarity, and applying rules in a consistent manner. But you can all do it. You can all join me in this. It's not a magic skill that I somehow acquired. Right. It's not some sort of ingrained Harry Potter-like, ability that some of us have and the rest of you don't. You can all engage with this, and you can all, because this government is so bad, because they are, and bearing in mind he's got a knighthood and he's a KC, and I don't have a knighthood and I'm not a KC. But we can all be better lawyers than Keir Starmer. We really can.
Yes.
Absolutely every single one of us can engage with words because we talk all the time. We can understand definitions and we can apply rules. The idea that they are attacking someone defensively is pathetic. It's a distinction that never needed to be made. So again, it's part of just their sort of psyop of just misleading the public about the law. It's because they tried to pretend that the war was illegal when it was perfectly legal to begin with. Right. Now they have to row back from that. They can't just go, oh, we completely lied to the public about the law, or they don't feel able to do that. So they're just creating even more gibberish. And I just sit here giggling at them. You utter lying fraudsters. Yeah. And above all, Keir Starmer and Richard Hermer, you are incompetent at law. There's no way out for them. If I were somehow in this position, if I were a politician and I had to keep lying to the public for reasons, I don't know why politicians lie to the public, but let's just get this straight. I would have to sacrifice my reputation as a lawyer. Yeah. You would all sit there, and once you get to the point where you and the public can look at stuff and go, "Hang on a second, this doesn't make any sense." And this we're attacking defensively is the perfect example of where they are obviously lying, and you can catch them out.
Well, this is the thing. This is the thing. I was watching Michael Gove being interviewed the other day on GB News, and he was being asked about whether or not the government was right not to prescribe the IRGC, the ghastly, horrible sort of military arm murdering scumbags, military arm of the Iranian regime. And he said, it's very simple. He said the reason that they have not been prescribed as a terrorist organisation is because of lawyers in the Foreign Office. Because lawyers in the Foreign Office have declared that it's very clear that if you are a state-run organisation, you cannot be a terrorist group. Well, sorry, of course you can. You can be a terrorist group if we say you are. If we decide that you are, that's where we go. You don't go, oh, shut the door then. The lawyers are all in that room there having their tea and biscuits at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. They're about to go home to Sevenoaks. And actually they've declared that we can't make the IRGC a prescribed terrorist organisation because the law says we can't do it. I mean, we're sort of, we're now run by idiots who think that getting advice from lawyers is all you need to do. And as you know, as a lawyer, Stephen, you can get lawyers to say anything.
Well, you can. We're also run by very bad lawyers. I mean, so for 14 years, I've worked in social mobility, and I've got kids from poor backgrounds into universities to read law and into jobs in law. None of my kids go and work for the government legal service. And there's a very simple reason for that. They would earn 3 times less if they did so.
Yeah.
So not only are we run by these lawyers in the civil service, they are very badly paid lawyers, and I don't believe that any of them are really competent lawyers.
So they're not very good lawyers either, in other words.
They pay peanuts, get monkeys. And what the civil service will do is employ 10 incompetent lawyers on low salaries when one competent lawyer could have done the job. And that's what we're constantly living. We live in this Blairite state, which is frankly about maximizing public sector employment. That's all they want. They want as many public sector employees as possible.
Yeah.
So 10 badly paid lawyers versus one well-paid lawyer, to them is a win. But look at it as a nation. If instead of the 10 badly paid lawyers, we had one properly paid lawyer, we'd still save about 70% of the money. There is actually a massive saving to be made here. But we as a country, we've decided to run ourselves as a massive bloated bureaucracy.
But also, Stephen, most normal people, right, and I include you in this, even though you are a lawyer, most normal people will take advice from their friends, take advice from people who maybe know what they're talking about. If you're in business, you might ask somebody who's also in business, what do you think we should do about this? You know, how do we avoid paying tax on that? You know, how do we expand into Europe? How do we kind of, start selling our products into Asia? You know, you would take the advice of people who genuinely are experts in that particular sphere of influence. But what you wouldn't do is ask somebody who's got no idea of anything about what you're about to do and say, what do you think we should do? You know, it's like asking a 5-year-old child, how do you think I should expand? For example, how would I expand this show into China? And what I wouldn't do is go and talk to some woke child who is over in the coffee machine across the street from me here, who's only just come into work at 10 o'clock and who's only been working for about 3 months. Because they don't know. And so why would you ask their advice? And so we have a government which is relying on the advice of people who don't know anything at all about the world.
No, we have structured. The best thing you can say in their defence is that we have structured the civil service to take, a lot of children with a lot of swimming certificates, and just keep them in a silo, and they learn nothing, and they know nothing.
I've done 50 yards in my pajamas.
Well, exactly, but they know the system. That's all they know, and therefore they sort of invest in protecting it. It becomes this way of things. And I, as a lawyer, I do like to quite criticise the family division for this. I think that the family division of barristers and solicitors tends to fall into, we do this because this is the way we've always done it. It's like, well, hang on a second. No, let's go back to basic principles. What are you doing and why are you doing it? But yet I wouldn't take advice from the Treasury, yet apparently all of our elected officials have to. And they had to crush Liz Truss because she refused to listen to them. But I mean, the idea that the Office of Budget Responsibility in particular, the idea that it has any expertise in anything other than state, all of its predictions are wrong. Yes. All of its forecasts are wrong.
Right.
And the idea that governments have to listen to this thing, which is now in our law, Mike, it's sadly written into our laws that governments have to listen to this nonsense. I mean, it's just a waste of time. We may as well go back to augurs. We may as well go back to ancient Rome. Let's just release a flock of birds and let's see which way they fly, and then let's make a decision based on that.
As Jacob Rees-Mogg famously said to me when he came into this studio and said, actually, you're very, very wise to watch what herons bring to the party, because actually that's how they used to govern Rome. You're absolutely right. And then and also look at the way that they name things, right? Call it the Office of Budget Responsibility. Sounds great. Sounds terrific. Doesn't actually have any responsibility, doesn't actually oversee the budget at all, just sits there and goes, well, this might happen, that might happen. But what about Geoffrey Cox? Geoffrey Cox, who's a former, I think, Attorney General, very highly paid lawyer, spent an awful lot of time in the Caribbean doing things for people who were paying him very much better than the government did. He's got up on his hind legs recently and yesterday to talk about jury trials. There was a case to be heard in Parliament yesterday. Let's have a look. Do we have it?
Years, which is that if you are accused of a serious crime, and a serious crime is one that could destroy your reputation, disqualify you from the House of Commons, wreck your professional reputation, loss of your employment like the postmasters and the mistresses, that you should be able to be judged by 12 people. There is a reason why summary justice is called summary. There is a reason why summary justice was always subject to a complete rehearing. Remember, the Honourable Lady spoke of how there was no right to jury trial. Of course there is no written right. There has always been an accepted consensus on both sides of this House and throughout the system of this country that jury trials are precious for those kinds of cases, particularly allegations of dishonesty. The right to elect is crucial. That is what this is being undermined, this bill is undermining. That is what is so dangerous about it. And undermining it on the basis of what? Arbitrary rules and arbitrary divisions. 3 years. Why 3? Why not next year 4? Why not next year 5? Why not extend it gradually, little by little, until you reduce? No, I am not giving way. Let me make clear now. I want to finish in a moment. The reality, Madam Deputy Speaker, is that jury trial is too precious a thing. We're faced with a question of principle here.
So Geoffrey Cox, who, is a little bit pompous, but that's okay, he's allowed to be, makes a very good point. It's a very precious principle, jury trial. David Lammy, who is not a very precious principle at all, a complete and utter actual idiot, thinks it's a good idea to get rid of it in order to somehow create a weapon for reducing the backlog of cases, which of course it won't do. Nobody in the legal world that I speak to thinks that it's a panacea for anything. Geoffrey Cox, as I say, very smart guy, very well paid if you want to hire him to do anything for you. He's somebody we should listen to, isn't he?
Yes, absolutely. And what's happened in the barrister profession is that far too many of them have sung Labour's tune for far too long. They really have. And I'm quite enjoying, look, we've had jury trials for 800 years. The idea that you get rid of them is obviously evil. It's what fascist dictators do. It's what communist dictators do. And it's what, nobody except communist and fascist dictators takes away jury trials. I can't even do a 3 there. I just have to point out that fascists and communists are the only people who take away jury trial. Fascists, communists, and now Labour. And the idea that you would support these people, or the idea that you couldn't see this coming, is what I really throw at the criminal bar. I really, and if Geoffrey's pompous, and I don't think Geoffrey is, actually I have a bit of a man crush on Geoffrey, because I have always wanted to have I've always wanted to have a beautiful voice. It's been very important to me. I wanted to sound nice, or sound, and Geoffrey has such a beautiful voice.
He does.
It's unbelievable.
It is mellifluous, I think we would say.
Only Zeb Soames, if you know him, who I think is now on Classic FM, but only Zeb Soames has a more beautiful voice than Geoffrey. But what Geoffrey is doing there is standing up for the real principles of the bar. And it's telling how it's only those of us on the right. And there aren't many lawyers left on the right. To be honest, we're like 5% of the profession.
Yes.
And a dying breed. But it is those of us on the right who know that this is absolutely monstrous. This is simply monstrous. If the Conservative Party were doing
the second thing I want to talk about, our friends.
Yeah, it's absolutely right. One final one before we let you go, Stephen, and before we promote and plug the live show that we're doing in May. Front page of the Daily Mail today, Home Secretary under pressure, intense pressure, to ban a pro-Iranian rally in London coming up this weekend. The Al-Quds organisation, which is effectively a sort of, I hesitate to say, a political arm of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, and which is effectively a terrorist organisation, want to march through London, chanting probably death to Israel, chanting presumably that they think that Israel should be done away with. I've certainly seen posters that people have been holding up from these pro-Iranian regime demonstrations in the past, which say things like, bomb the hell out of Israel, bomb them into insignificance, bomb them into, the history books and back to the Stone Age. It seems extraordinary that we can't seemingly work out how to do these things. We can't ban this march. We think freedom of speech is so important that we have to let these scumbags march around in London, making people feel uneasy, threatening Jewish people, and all the rest of it, Isn't it bizarre?
Now, the second thing I want to talk about, our friends in the United Kingdom. And they are our friends.
Having very low self-esteem.
I love the people.
Okay, when you have very low self-esteem, you have no boundaries.
I went to school there for a while.
I'm hearing another clip.
pushed into a place where it has no self-esteem, and we need to get self-esteem back. We can stop things like this. It's obviously evil. We've had year after year after year of obvious evil. The Home Secretary definitely has the ability to block this. Don't let them lie to you. I kept writing in The Spectator about performative weakness, and I'm just fed up now. I'm fed up of people in power who say, "Oh, I can't do anything." It's like, well, then why do you have power if you can't do anything?
Right.
You can do stuff. So grow up. And I think it's about time that if I have one message to leave the country with, we need to man up, grow up, and have some boundaries, okay? Have some self-respect. And these people hate us, so they don't get to march in our city, okay? That's it. No.
Yes, absolutely right. Just say no. It was the great campaign of President Ronald Reagan's wife, Nancy, when she was trying to get people to stop taking drugs. Just say no. I think it's a great campaign. Stephen, we are, as ever, indebted to you. Coming up on May the 6th, which is going to probably come at us faster than we know, you're going to be joining us for a fantastic evening of the Mike Graham Show, effectively live, with a whole bunch of people, including Intel Lady, who put out an amazing thing. I don't know if you've seen it. Well, look, we've got this. We've now got a poster. Look at this. Mike Graham and Friends, Shepherd's Bush Empire, Wednesday, 6th of May. There are tickets still available. We've sold quite a lot of them. Hundreds and hundreds of people are already coming. Lewis McLeod is going to be there. Great impression. Intel Lady, who did a fantastic piece the other day of her as Emily Maitlis interviewing Hannah Spencer from the Gorton Denton by-election. Very, very funny. And also a whole host of other people are going to be there. We will be indebted to you for your incredible input to that as well. So if you haven't got a ticket yet, please do. We'll tell you how to get it. Go to Ticketmaster. Stephen Barrett, thank you very much indeed. Good luck with the rest of the day, and continue to speak absolute and utter common sense. Here we are, Mike Graham. This is great, actually. Should we not get this like framed or something, and put it up behind us, if we can? It only arrived this morning. Also, we haven't got any money to get it framed. Apparently, Donald McLeod's coming down later, and because of that, we haven't got any money to frame anything. Because obviously he's got to eat, he's got to stay in a room, he's going to put a hotel bill in, It's difficult. It's not easy running a business. Anyway, listen, coming up, Will Geddes is here. He's going to give us his usual expertise on what's going on in the Middle East. Lots of people saying that they want to try and get out of Dubai, but most of those people are actually people who don't live there. The people who do live there kind of saying, we're going to hang around, we're going to stay, we're going to see what we do. We'll find out from Will, what the likelihood is of flights going. I'm told, I think this morning, that some of the airports have been shut down again. It's all a bit tricky. It's all a bit difficult. We'll talk us through it. Also, loads of you taking part in the new poll, which we've got out there, which we haven't spoken about yet. The poll today is off the back of Meghan Markle going to Australia, where nobody wants her to go. I think the poll says, who is the world's worst person? Is it Keir Starmer? Is it Meghan Markle? Is it Vladimir Putin? Or is it Kim Jong-un? And you might not be surprised to know, with this audience that we've got, it's the Prime Minister of the great country of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. It's Keir Starmer, 81%, the worst person in the world. What an absolute plonker he is. Coming up later on in the show, we're going to be going down to Crowborough to find out what the latest is there in terms of the migrant supply. Robert Jenrick is coming into the studio as well, the Shadow Chancellor for the Reform Party. If you've got any questions for him, please do put them to us. You can find us on X, you can find us on Facebook, and we'll try and put those questions to him. But that should be a very interesting interview as well, not least because we want to know from Robert Jenrick what they would do vis-a-vis a situation in the Gulf. Because yesterday, Robert Jenrick put a statement out saying it's time to end the war with Iran. Whereas 2 days before that, Nigel Farage was in Mar-a-Lago, apparently having a conversation with Donald Trump about how they have to keep going with the war. And Richard Tice was in the Middle East saying, actually, we would back anything the Americans did to kill off the Iranian snake, the many-headed, what do they call those things? Hydra. Yeah, one of those. Anyway, it's coming up to 7:36. It's time for the news with Edward Hughes.
Good morning. I'm Edward Hughes with your news. The escalating war in Iran dominates UK headlines, with Chancellor Richard III warning MPS that the conflict is putting upward pressure on inflation through surging oil prices, now over $100 a barrel after key energy terminals closed. Prime Minister Keir Starmer has cautioned the crisis could affect every household and every business, with Reeves indicating readiness to support releasing strategic oil reserves and to ease impacts. The UK is bolstering its military presence in the region, including deploying HMS Dragon towards Cyprus. Domestically, a major fire near Glasgow Central Station has destroyed retail units, leaving independent business owners heartbroken and causing train disruptions. MPS have rejected calls for the outright ban on social media for under-16s, opting instead for more flexible regulations. New V-level qualifications are being rolled out from 2027 to better prepare students for future jobs. Cold weather returns with snow forecast in parts of the country, while debates continue on anti-Muslim hatred definitions and protecting free speech. That's the main UK picture this Tuesday. Please remember to like and subscribe. Back to you, Mikey boy. Latest Tigers.
You know? There we are, Edward Hughes there with the news. Did we see was that the moving version?
No, I remember I was frustrated, I couldn't get the moving version.
You're tantalising us with all this, right? Because Pooch managed to make Edward Hughes move and actually turn him into an AI supercharged newsreader. And every time we said, oh, this is good, we're going to play this, it turned out we couldn't play it. But we will, right? Before the end of the show, we'll definitely do it. What we can say is that Will Geddes is with us, all the way from his secret location in West London, which we can't reveal, obviously.
Hollowed out volcano.
You know, this is like it's a no-go zone, no-fly zone,
Absolutely.
Nothing, right?
Absolutely.
But, you know, the Middle East has calmed down a little bit, I would say, in the last couple of days. I've been talking to my daughter, Emma, in Dubai, and others who are in the region who say, you know, listen, it's just something we now live with, that occasionally you're going to hear a noise.
Yes.
You're going to hear an explosion. She said to me on Sunday, I think it was Sunday night or Saturday night, when that big blast hit the building in the marina area, quite close to her. She said, you know, the windows shook a bit. But we were all okay. And, you know, I'm not particularly happy about that. I'm going, you know, and she said, you know, we've had conversations about whether we should leave, whether we should stay. And at the moment, most people in Dubai who are British kind of expats have taken the view that it will pass and we're going to stay because it's still a great place to live.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is a great place to live. And I mean, I've got lots of friends who are down there and they're very much the same as Emma. They're taking the position of, you know what, unless we really have to leave, we don't want to leave. You know, they've built their lives there. But I would say listen to the Foreign Commonwealth Office. Listen to them because having, you know, I've mentioned this to you before, I've done a lot of evacuations around the world. Usually the FCO, this US State Department, are the two really good measuring tools to, do we really need to get out? And also about whether they are fully functioning as consulates and embassies in that country. Because if they will start with non-essential staff being evacuated, and then when essential staff are being evacuated, they know what's going on
when they're
behind
shutting
the
it
scenes.
down or something.
I mean, the big problem right now for the UAE, and Bahrain especially, is two things. They're running out of countermeasures. So when you think of these Shahad drones, which Iran built and have provided to Russia for the fight in Ukraine, they cost about 28,000 quid. The countermeasures to take them down
is that cost per drone?
Per drone, and the countermeasures are anywhere between 1 and 3 million quid to take out.
Because we've heard, for example, that Dubai certainly and the UAE generally has a sort of Iron Dome scenario, a bit like Israel, but it's not quite as good, is it?
No. It's not the same. It's not the same. I mean, their air-to-air defences are beginning to deplete. They've spent probably an estimated about $500 million so far. Now, there's only been about 1,000 odd drones and ballistics that have been sent into Dubai, and yet they've spent $500 million. They're running out of capability, and that's very much the rumour right now. The second thing is where are they going to get the resupply from? Because everybody in the Middle East wants them. They all want these countermeasures to protect themselves. Iran has an estimated, or did in January anyway, an estimated 80,000 drones. And if you imagine they've only launched about 1,000 or so against the UAE, they've got a few in reserve, even if the US have been successful taking out some of their stockpiles. So what we did see yesterday was Australia, Prime Minister Albanese and Penny Wong, their foreign minister, committing Australian forces. So a new player enters the game, committing a wedge-tail surveillance plane to assist the UAE in detecting, obviously, some of these devices.
Right.
The second thing is they've committed 85 ADF troops, Australian Defence Force troops, and they're also providing some air-to-air countermeasures.
Right.
So the fact that they're being brought into it, I mean, I was speaking with Australian TV yesterday, and they were asking, okay, is that going to put us at risk? Well, then we cascade out to Iran a message that allegedly was intercepted by American and US intelligence from Iran, cascading out to various different groups around the world, which is interesting, bearing in mind this protest this weekend, saying to sleeper cells, now's the time to show your support for Iran. So the terrorism angle's now increasing. It's all looking a little bit cheeky, and I'd say we're not out of the woods yet, Mike.
No, of course. But equally, we're told, as much as, defensive mechanisms in the UAE and other parts of the Gulf might be depleted, is it also not true that the Iranian ballistic missile capability has been depleted too? Because they're going to run out of missiles, effectively, we're told. Depending on whether or not the Russians help them or the Chinese help them. But by and large, they've been firing hundreds of missiles every single day for about the best part of 10 days.
I mean, the missiles
they are going to run out, aren't they?
Yeah, they are running out, and they most certainly are, and how much they've got left is very questionable. And I think the US have been, with Epic Fury, have been very successful in taking out a lot of their capability. The big problem for me, though, is these drones, because these drones are highly effective. If they're sent en masse, we've seen this in the Ukraine conflict, when they're sent out in a swarm, they can cause a lot of chaos. Maybe not to the same size as obviously a ballistic missile, but they'll certainly cause enough chaos, and they can cause sufficient damage. We also saw Bahrain's major desalination plant get taken out the other day. Now,
well, this is the other thing that people
really
are now
serious.
starting to talk about. And again, my daughter Emma wrote about this on CNBC's website. The water kind of business, if you like, is in a way even more sort of, I suppose, difficult to worry about than anything else, because if you start messing around with the water supply in the desert, you got no water, you got a problem.
Bahrain is entirely dependent on its desalination, and to take out the desalination, you're not just hitting US military targets that are stationed there, whether it be bases, launch pads, whatever it might be. You're not just hitting commerce and hitting financial institutions, you're now hitting the civilians. So, people are blaming Iran and saying they're just being very sporadic and spontaneous in what they're targeting. No, they're being very smart and they're being very clever. So we've got a little time to come before I think we're out of the woods. And certainly Iran are turning around and saying we'd rather die than surrender. So they're going full kamikaze.
And what about the passage of ships through the Straits of Hormuz and the Red Sea and all of that? I mean, is there a chance that will restart, if you like, and obviously the oil price can come down if the flow of goods and tankers can actually happen? What's the likelihood of that becoming no problem after a while?
Well, I think until they can provide complete reassurance. I mean, there was this business the other day, Lloyd's of London, that control most of the international insurance for certainly carriers that are carrying not only container ships carrying oil, but carrying obviously other supplies. China receives something like 80% of its oil through the Straits of Hormuz, so they're going to start suffering very soon. It may be part of a bigger strategy that Marco Rubio has put together, but until that's open, that's going to continue to push up the oil price, the barrel price, which is over $100 right now, which has gone up, I think it's almost 30-40%. And that will continue to have knock-on effects. And then you've also got the other container ships, which are bringing all our supplies, electronics, everything else that we survive on. And that's going to have to go now through the south of Africa, and round the Cape.
Which takes
come up.
forever.
It's going to put probably another 13 days onto it. And then you've got, there's so many different problems which are hitting here, Mike. So
what about? I mean,
come on, America, get a move on.
Let me ask you about the terrible, dreadful state, because that's what a lot of people are talking about as well in this country, of the Royal Navy. Where we've got literally dozens of ships in dry dock, effectively being sort of fixed up. And we've only got one ship, HMS. I keep forgetting the name.
I can't remember the name.
Dragon. HMS Dragon is on its way.
Dragging its heels.
Dragging its heel. As it was leaving port yesterday in Portsmouth, it looked more like a ferry going to sort of the Isle of Wight. I just thought,
on a booze cruise.
This is not exactly intimidating to the Iranians when you see,
Not the sailors.
No,
it's
not at
no,
all.
of course not. No, it's nothing to do with sailors.
It's the government.
It's to do with the
cutting
government.
funds. Yep.
It's to do with the people running the Ministry of Defence.
Yep.
It's to do with the fact that they, it's a bit like having a train company and going, well, actually, we've got one train which is running
That's called
because all the other trains are in the shed getting painted.
Yeah.
It's like, well, who plans it like that? Similarly, it turns out that we've got an aircraft carrier that doesn't have any aircraft on it, because we've depleted it to such an extent. Because, and you've worked in the military, you've worked with armed forces personnel. For many, many years, they said, we don't need, hardware anymore. All we do is we're going to fight cybercrime. We're going to fight cyber.
It's ridiculous.
Robots are going to be on the battlefield. We don't need people. We don't need hardware. We don't need ships. We don't need planes. That's been proven to be completely and utterly wrong, hasn't it?
Totally. And our armed forces have just been so depleted and so dragged down. I mean, you even look at the recruitment levels for special forces now. We have the best special forces in the world. Those numbers are depleting as well. Because, to be honest, they're not, General Green Army, the Royal Air Force, the Royal Navy, none of these have been invested in. There's no resilience. And it's just been cut back again by Whitehall, by the government. And to be honest, I have a lot of good friends who are still serving, who have recently left, a lot of which have left basically saying, it's not what it used to be. And there isn't any pride in our military forces and services. We're in a position here where we're now being tested. We're being tested to see whether we step up to support our allies, whether we are robust and resilient enough to protect ourselves. I mean, you and I have been saying this for ages, Mike. Why the Royal Navy hasn't been operating in the Channel, intercepting these dinghies, I've no idea. Because the Coast Guard work in a humanitarian capacity. They have to rescue. You can't blame them.
They brought the Navy in. Did they not bring the Navy in like 2 or 3 years ago? I think under the Conservative government, and they ended up doing the same thing. They ended up like facilitating these people who are coming out of France.
And do you know why, Mike? Because of directives from above.
Yeah, because they were supposedly operating under the principle that we have to rescue people who are in danger at sea.
Yeah,
and you go, well, fine, rescue them, and then take them back to France.
Dump them back on the beach of Calais.
10 miles off the coast of France, and then bring them to Dover. That's kind of counterintuitive. It's counterproductive, and nobody wants them here. And so we've been captured, haven't we? I mean, there was a story the other day about how the armed forces were being very careful to make sure that if you needed makeup to make yourself feel better, or if you needed to be, able to...
as I often do.
As I often do. I mean, I'm wearing it now.
Makeup.
But I mean, I'm not actually fighting for my country right now.
Exactly.
If I was about to go fix my bayonet and start running at the enemy, I don't think I'd be worried about whether I was wearing factor 15 from,
Little concealer might make you go faster.
From
Who
the
knows,
Max studio, you know what I mean? But, there is this problem where, again, like every other sort of civil service department, the Ministry of Defence has been captured by these kind of ideologues who've said it's more important to recognise trans ideology than it is to actually kill people. And you go, what's wrong with you? Killing people is what you do. That's your business.
And that's half the reasons a lot of people sign up, Mike. They want to be able to go away, go to fascinating destinations, meet interesting people and kill them.
And kill them, yeah.
Exactly.
But that's what you want, though. You want people in the armed forces to want to be able to not only be able to do that, but to want to do it.
But also the hearts and minds. I mean, we're recognised around the world for our capability in hearts and minds and building communities and going in and supporting the oppressed and that sort of thing, which we've done very little evidence of. And that's not to say our military services and forces don't want to be down there chewing at the bit to go and assist, whether it be an Akatori or whether it be our allies. Right. It's the government that's just painting this whole situation into a corner.
I mean, I speak to many people on social media, former, Army personnel, Navy personnel, veterans now, who are doing very well in business in what but they just say, look, I served my country. I was very proud to do so. I took a great deal of credit from it. But now I talk to people who are in it, and it's just become a shadow of its former self. And I don't know how you get that back.
I don't know, and the problem is the erosion of patriotism in this country. And then if you are patriotic, you are immediately pasted as far right and racist.
I know.
And then you look at, I mean, I don't want to steer too much off path and off course, but you look at Keir Starmer's statements yesterday about enhancing even greater protections for the Islamic and Muslim community.
I know that I should. But even Pooch and I have gone, can we actually not bother playing any STARMER
It's
clips?
too depressing,
it's
isn't it?
so useless.
Yeah.
He's literally like a cardboard cutout.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also, how does he make his hair look like that? It's just so ridiculous looking. It doesn't look like real hair. He's like Max Headroom. Somebody's like planted a wig on his head and sort of combed it in such a way that it's supposed to look like the wind would not blow it away.
Yeah.
It's just horrible.
The last story to just pop in very quickly is obviously the Iranian female football team down in Australia,
of course, yeah.
which is
That was
a
an
great story.
interesting manoeuvre.
Yeah.
I was listening to 5 Live the other day, and they were saying that the actual hotel and the police in Australia managed to kind of help them escape.
Yeah.
The 5 that did escape.
Yeah.
But the others are all going back now, aren't they?
Yes, well, I think they're challenged. There's 7 or so of the team who have actually defected. They did have private security, and in this situation, there were also members of the IRGC who were there controlling it. So, from what I understand, there was a local security team. I know if I was working on a security team, and maybe I'll go on a coffee break at the particular time that poor person wants to defect and get out. It all depends who's paying my bill, Mike. But ultimately, it really comes down to the fact that, yes, these women, the ones that have had to return, I feel they've been enforced to return because their families have been threatened that if they don't return, they're going to. But I love the fact that Donald Trump, as always, steps in, turns around to Albanese and says, if you don't give them asylum, we will.
Right.
So that was an easy win for Albanese.
But interesting
to
that
turn
they
around
just
and say
allowed
yes.
them to kind of walk down the back stairs into a van and disappear without the knowledge of the RGC kind of, minders, if you like, realising what was going on.
You know what? There are ways to do it. Let's say I may have done something similar myself, Mike, historically, but I'd say there was probably a little involvement by some former or current serving members of Australian SAS who are a pretty awesome bunch, I have to say. Sure. So they probably came and assisted in just saying to the security, oh, it's coffee break time, just pop out.
Well,
and I think probably the security team
over there, mate.
Yeah, and I think the IRGC guys, but I mean, they were checking on their phones. They were
they
giving
locked
them
down
help.
the hotel shortly afterwards.
But this actual IRGC sort of security appointee was going into the girls' rooms, checking all their belongings, checking their phones. Right. It's a horrible situation, but it's great for the girls to have got themselves out.
Absolutely right.
Yeah,
absolutely right. Will, as ever, great to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Will Geddes, International Man of Mystery. If you ever are in trouble, he's definitely a guy worth calling if you can afford it, because it doesn't come cheap. I can tell you that from personal experience. Will, great to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Will Geddes, international security expert, as we say. Let's talk now, though, to Maya Thomas from Big Brother Watch, because there was a little thing that happened yesterday, kind of under the radar, that nobody really noticed, because this is what happens when you're dealing with, international kind of crises and all sorts of other things going on. There was a vote that went on in Parliament yesterday about whether or not to ban under 16s from using social media. And I think Maya's going to explain to us what exactly happened. Maya, very good morning to you.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me on the show.
Good to see you. Thank you very much indeed. This kind of slipped in slightly under the radar, didn't it? I wasn't absolutely sure until I read about it last night that there was even a conversation that was being had in Parliament. Tell us what happened and tell us what the ramifications are.
Yeah, you're right. In light of the Iran war, a lot of the time local news kind of disappears under the radar. But essentially what happened is the government had a discussion about whether to ban children from social media. What we're very concerned about is, while they haven't made a definitive vote yet, so we don't know whether this ban will exactly happen, they have been discussing ways in which it could happen, and it's very likely to happen in the future. And at Big Brother Watch, what we're very concerned about is that, while obviously everybody wants children to be safe online, the government hasn't actually thought through how this type of ban would be enforced, because the only way to determine who's under 16, so that you can ban under 16s from social media, would be to basically scan everybody's faces and everybody's IDs to determine their ages. So this would affect adults as much as it would affect children, and it has terrible, sort of disastrous consequences for our privacy and civil liberties.
Yes, and because that's always the thing that I've been concerned about, is that in any world where you're trying to ban certain people from accessing social media, i.e. because they're too young, the government will have to know who I am as I access social media, and I'll have to somehow register with them. I'll have to somehow, give them all my details of, my address, my name, my identity, possibly my affiliated, family members, and all of that, and I think most of us would feel slightly uneasy, really, giving the government, who are so useless at running everything, the ability to sort of look into my life, really.
Well, absolutely. What we're especially worried about is the impact that a social media ban would have on sort of more vulnerable people. If you think about a woman who's experiencing domestic abuse at home, she might want to reach out through social media to get help, to reach out to specific services that might help her. But if she can't access that without showing her ID, which may have been confiscated by her abuser, then how is she going to access help? And it's the same for children. There are a lot of children who can't go to their parents for help because their parents are abusing them. They can't go to their teachers for help because teachers are underpaid and incredibly stressed. So they reach out to children's charities through social media. And this is actually why 42 children's charities have come together and announced in a joint statement that they're against a social media ban. Because the thought behind it is, of course, very well-meaning, but nobody's thought about the real unintended consequences that this would have.
Yes, exactly right. And that is the real problem, isn't it? And the government doesn't appear to be interested in your personal kind of, safety, in your, or my personal kind of, protection. They seem to be more interested in kind of punishing, if you like, the social media companies. And, they have certainly a role to play. And I think we probably all agree that there are things that go on social media that we don't like. However, do we really want the government to actually dictate what it is that we're allowed to see?
Well, absolutely. We're also very concerned about the fact that the government has immediately jumped to some sort of ban. There are only about a third of parents actually use parental controls on their children's devices. And there's a very real conversation to be had about why is it that so many parents give their 3-year-olds iPads, their 8-year-olds smartphones. We think that the government would be actually, it would be much more efficient for the government to actually talk to parents, provide resources about healthy screen time, help with digital literacy courses in schools. Yeah. This is a decision for parents and families, not for the government.
No, exactly right. And so, I mean, where is this actual bill? Because there's a lot of, noise around the sort of the so-called government's, privacy bill, the government's kind of, online safety bill. Nobody's quite sure where it's all going. I mean, as far as you are aware, Maya, what's happening with it? Is it likely to become law in the next parliament? Is it likely to become something that just gets pushed to the background? What are we looking at here?
Well, you're very right in saying that there's a lot going on. So this ban is actually currently it's being proposed as part of a bill called the Children's Wellbeing in Schools Bill, which is being what's called ping-ponged back and forth between the Houses of Commons and the House of Parliament. So that's where it is now. So initially this proposal was put forward by the Tories. Then Labour came and they said, actually, we want to do something to stay politically relevant. So they've now launched a consultation where they're going to, essentially, the thought behind it was ask experts and parents what they think. But we've looked at the terms of the consultation, and it's an incredibly biased one, and we're very worried about that. Yeah. So once that wraps up, then the government says it's going to consider whether to introduce a ban or not. But I suspect that we would hear by about sort of early summer, maybe midsummer, what's actually going to happen.
All right. We've got a clip, I think, from Darren Jones, who is, of course, very close to the Prime Minister, kind of more or less his second in command, talking about it. Let's have a look at what he has to say.
There's a section in the consultation about police and the use of facial recognition. Campaigners say, and I read it, reads like a primer for digital ID being a gateway for police to turn ID photos into mugshots. How can you reassure people that that is not the case?
Yeah, the digital ID system that we're building is not a mandatory ID that you need to have available to show to the police or anybody else. If you wish to use it, you can, but you don't have to if you don't want to. So any concerns the public have about how this interfaces with law enforcement, please just be reassured that's not what this is about. This is about making customer services easier to access and use across government.
Yeah, well, he says that, but I thought facial recognition was something that the police are already now using to arrest people, and and that may be a good thing. But I'm just not happy about the way that they're unraveling it and kind of just telling us that, well, yeah, we're doing this because it's making you safer. And you go, really? Is it? Are you sure? Are you sure you're not just tracking me everywhere I go? Whenever I go into a Boots, the chemist, or whenever I go into, I don't know, Selfridges, you've got footage of me doing things.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're very concerned because, of course, while so a social media ban basically rests on either uploading a scan of your passport or scanning your face, and that's facial recognition. So it's impossible to enforce without it. And you're right to say that in sort of broader context, where the government has made clear that they are interested in digital ID, Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood actually said that she would like the UK to be an AI panopticon, believe it or not. In that context, this type of legislation is incredibly worrying.
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely right. Well, listen, with your help, Maya, and others, we will at least question them every time they try and do something that we don't like the look of. Thank you very much indeed. That is, of course, Big Brother Watch, an organisation which is very, very good at just keeping a tab on exactly what the government's up to. That's Maya Thomas. Ray, this under 16 social media ban, because it's one thing to say, and Emma Wolf has said this a lot about her own kid. She doesn't like the fact that children are given iPads, given iPhones, given tablets from the age of about 2 or 3, and I get that, and I get the fact that also it would be good to safeguard people from their children's curiosity, if you like, going into parts of the dark web. I know from my own experience as a parent that my kids sometimes access things which I wish they hadn't, and maybe sometimes as a parent you're not as good as you should be at actually controlling what it is that they see, controlling what it is that they do. But it's easier said than done, because kids are very, very resilient and very inventive. And if you say to them, we've literally blocked you, I mean, we certainly tried that many times to say, parental controls on the iPad, parental controls on even the broadband that you get into your house, but they find a way around it. They get a PCN, they talk to their mates, they go to the school where they operate, and their mates show them. I remember, one of my kids telling us that when he was about 12, he saw and watched those horrible ISIS videos at the time where people were being beheaded. People were having their throats slit, people were having their heads cut off, and it was all available on the internet. And he watched it as a sort of 11, 12-year-old boy. And that can't be right. However, the government should not also be allowed to then use that experience and use that sort of horrible, sort of instance to make it possible for them to control the internet in a way which then limits our own experience and limits our own ability to determine what we should watch. I don't want the government telling me what I should watch. I would like the government to get the hell out of my life, and I should be able to watch what I want. But I get the fact that, a 14-year-old child shouldn't maybe be able to do that. The question is whether that's down to the parents or whether that's down to the government. And the problem, of course, with outlawing it for people under the age of 16 is that you then have to make sure that the people who are able to watch it over 16 register with the government. So you've suddenly got the ability as a government to track everybody and to take everybody's information and to do with it what they will, which also can't be right. So I'd be interested in your view on that, and we'll take many, many, many of those views on the WhatsApp, on the X account that I've got, which is at IROMG, on Facebook, and of course on the YouTube feed as well. Right now, we've got some super chats because we haven't done too many of them. We've got loads of them coming in. So should we do, Pooch, a few super chats? This one from Trent. Take back your country. Love the show. Trent from North Carolina. Do you know what? We should put Trent's little pin on the map, because we've got a lovely map that came in yesterday. We'll try and put it up on the wall behind us, because we know we've got people in Phnom Penh. We've got people in Vietnam, we've got people in Hong Kong, we've got people in Dubai, we've got people in Michigan, of course, Cindy Smith, and there she is. Mike, please keep an eye out for a gift I've sent you. That's very kind of you. Actually, I must open some of the gifts that I've got here, because we've got loads. And Pooch has been harping on at me to, he says, can you please get through some of these? And it's true. And I got this lovely gift the other day, the Mike Graham show. It's an actual, it's a knife, effectively. That's still a knife. But this is a letter opener, right? And I can use it to open letters. It's not very good for opening this, though. It's not working.
Right. Oh, there you go. You can do the map.
Oh, hang on.
There you go.
So there's the map, right?
So
if we were to do...
North Carolina and Michigan.
So we can do North Carolina and Michigan, right? This is good. And also we can do Cambodia and Phnom Penh. Now, where are we? But this is where it's going to look like I don't know what I'm doing. That looks like North Carolina to me there. And Michigan, it looks like there. The Great Lakes, look at that, okay? So I'm going to put that there, which is probably more like Minnesota. But there we are. I'm going to do Cambodia and Vietnam, which is kind of down, it's sort of down there, isn't it? Right? So if I do it there, Cambodia, Vietnam, that sort of thing. This is great. This is great fun, by the way. I'm going to do, we've got Australia as well. We've got people listening in Sydney, which I think is about there. Okay. We've also got, there's nobody in Siberia, I don't think. Great. With Scotland. Should we do one for Scotland?
I've been to Siberia.
Have you?
Yeah.
Pooch has been to Siberia. Did you get sent there by Mrs. Pooch?
Yeah. Switzerland.
Yeah, every weekend, right?
Switzerland.
Switzerland, okay. All right. Switzerland, we've got that over there. This is lovely. I love this. Do you know, one of the things that I found really irritating at the weekend was Yvette Cooper, when she was doing the rounds, talking to various, commentators, Trevor Phillips and Laura Kunsberg and all that. She started talking about the High North. We're sending people to the High North. As if she's in some kind of, Lord of the Rings saga. What the hell is the High North? Don't tell me what it is. I know what it is. I know it's, Alaska, Greenland, the North Pole, all of that. But why does she care about that? There's a massive problem going on in the Middle East, right? There are people in Mauritius, actually, who have been in touch with us, who were saying that they can't get home. That's quite a big island down there. Is that Mauritius? Is that? Maybe I'm being a bit ridiculous here, but I think it's sort of down that neck of the woods anyway. Anybody else? Super chat from Dave. HMS Starmer, fairly slow, but very good on U-turns. Love the show. That's the thing, right? As the ship is steaming towards the Mediterranean, no doubt it will get sort of halfway to Gibraltar and it will do a U-turn. And they'll say, Prime Minister Starmer's been on. And actually, no, he's not going to send it after all. Sunshine Hawk says, longer hair suits you, Mike. I agree. I had it trimmed this morning, and I haven't had anybody saying it looks worse, right? So I think this is the way to go. Mr. Gillespie says, Brent crude $89.66 US currently. Are the refineries working? Well, all the panic about it going over $100 a barrel has kind of rescinded. All I can tell you is that I don't even want to look, because the last 24 hours, 48 hours, my pension has lost so much money, like 30, 40, 50,000 quid. And I'm like, is that going to come back? And it kind of does. Cindy says, here's a hint. It's glass and it's hand-blown from Etsy. Okay, so there's something glass-like coming from... now, where else have we got people that we know of? I think the Middle East, actually. Dubai.
Austria, Ralph Schellhammer.
Ralph Schellhammer, I'll be back.
Catherine Porter.
Catherine Porter's here as well. We're going to talk to her about the way that the oil markets are going. This is great. I love this. We could spend hours doing this, right? Look at that. There we are. So that's the sort of initial start of the map. So if you've got anyone in South America, anyone in Africa, anyone in sort of Asia, Russia, the Baltic regions, I think we'd be very happy to hear from you. And the High North, as she calls it, old Yvette Cooper, like she knows anything about anything. I've also got a package here, which I assume is a mug, which I could try and open, but it might be. Yeah, Pooch says he'll open it because it looks a bit difficult. Yes, let's do that. Catherine Porter is here, though, who is, of course, the woman to talk to about energy prices, about the problem with our ridiculous energy policy, which has left us completely bereft of any kind of energy whatsoever, apart from that we can buy in from elsewhere. And it seems that we've got the most expensive gas in the world, the most expensive electricity in the world. We're now being punished because of the fact that many people who live in rural communities, and particularly in Northern Ireland, are reliant upon oil to heat their homes and to warm up their shower water and all the rest of it. And Ed Miliband is still out there trying to convince everyone that he's in control. Catherine, a very good morning to you.
Good morning.
I can't quite believe my ears and eyes when I see the likes of Ed Miliband. I think he put out a tweet yesterday, a video, in which he said that, we're all going to be better off until July because of the energy price cap. And you go, are you actually talking to anyone in the real world? Are you actually talking to people who are filling up their car with petrol? Do you actually know anyone who has to pay a gas bill or an electricity bill or indeed a heating oil bill? It's complete madness, isn't it?
It is. I mean, yes, when we're talking about gas and electricity bills under the price cap, we are protected until that resets in June or July, the start of the next quarter. But obviously that's not the only way in which we're exposed to energy prices. We have to fill up our cars. We, people who don't use gas for heating and use heating oil, they'll be exposed to that straight away. And it'll feed through into other parts of the economy. Businesses don't benefit from the price cap. So they'll immediately see those increases in their gas and electricity costs, and they'll be passing those through to their customers.
Well, that's the thing. And also, we're already at kind of limit up, if you like, in terms of how much money people are spending on their energy bills, because they have become so expensive. It's become a really, really massive part of family expenditure and household expenditure. And it's as though the government is making out that it's not their fault. But it is their fault, isn't it?
Oh, I mean, completely. You look at what happened after 2022 and the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Completely the wrong lessons were taken away from that. Right. Even if you were to believe, which I don't, but even if you were to believe that you need to get off gas and get renewables, the government's plan is to be 95% gas-free on the electricity grid in 2030. Right. So what's the strategy between now and 2030? Just keep your fingers crossed and hope nothing goes wrong? That is not an appropriate policy. Now, in fact, renewables that Ed Miliband's building, they're based on the weather, wind and solar. How can something that is based on the weather give you energy security? Obviously, it can't. And it only generates electricity, which is less than a fifth of our total energy demand in this country. And again, it's just not credible that we could electrify heating, transport and industry by 2030. So, even if the plan was ultimately a good one, which I don't agree with, I disagree that that's a good plan. But even if it was, there's a massive hope and pray strategy embedded in what Ed Miliband is doing. Right. Now, actually, the lesson from 2022, and if you go back and look at the prices, the lesson was that only when you got to crisis levels of prices, and by the way, we're nowhere near that at the moment. In 2022, gas prices peaked at 600 pence per therm, and this morning I can tell you they're trading at just below 90. So we're miles away from where they were at the peak. Yeah. Sorry, that might have been the oil price actually. Hang on. But anyway, they're a very long way away from where they were at the peak. Yeah, right.
Because it was up. I mean, during the sort of during the high tide of the Ukraine war, because I saw what's his name? One of the economists, Julian Jessup, was putting out figures just last sort of 2 days ago, saying that it was much higher during the Ukraine war, sort of initial, and we somehow managed to get through that. But then he also explained that we then became much more reliant on Qatari natural gas or liquid natural gas or whatever it is that we get from them, and so that's been a problem.
We actually don't buy that much liquefied natural gas from Qatar. We buy an awful lot now from the US. The trouble is that we don't buy our gas on long-term fixed contracts. So they're all very flexible, and the seller of the gas is the one that keeps the flexibility. Right. So as soon as you get these price spikes, A, we didn't lock in a fixed price, and B, we have this issue that now we have to compete for every cargo, and someone might bid more money for it, and then it'll go to those other people. Now, there's been a lot in the news in the last few days about only 2 days worth of gas in storage and how this could, undermine our energy security. Well, first of all, actually, it's about 6 days if you're looking at current consumption at this time of year.
Okay.
But either way, it's kind of a red herring because the gas market didn't just seize up when Qatar closed its gas fields. The global gas market is still working apart from the Qatari gas. Now, that's not insignificant. That's still quite an important part of the market. But the question isn't, is there enough gas? The question is, can we manage to buy it? And what we have to do is just be able to pay more than some other people. And that's exactly what happened in 2022. So you had countries like Pakistan had failed gas tenders because they couldn't afford the prices. Although it's very painful for us, we actually can afford the prices. And so we're not going to run out of gas because we can just pay more. And some countries are not in that position to pay more. So what actually matters is that we have enough capacity in our import terminals. Now, here's the really big kicker here is that, unfortunately, because we're forcing the North Sea into premature decline, we're going to rely more on imports. And that we might not have enough capacity on the import terminals if we're having to substitute for the North Sea that we're pushing into decline. And so we should really look at building more. And you can actually do that quite quickly. So in 2022, Germany built its first floating regasification terminal, and it was opened by December of that year. So if you really put your mind to it, you can do that. But we're just not doing anything. You've just got the government saying, oh, well, we've got to get off gas. Well, you're not going to get off gas by next winter. And, we don't know how long the Qatari gas fields are going to be out of action. We do know that a couple of years ago, a big US gas terminal called Freeport, they had an explosion. And it was 9 months before they got that back online. We don't know whether Qatar's experienced that sort of damage or not. But my point is that will then take you into next winter. All of Europe is very low on gas at the moment. The EU storage levels are lower than they've been, other than in COVID. They're lower than they've been in like 10 years or something. And so you're going to see big pressure from the EU to fill up that storage over the summer. They're probably going to have to subsidise that. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on the market. And we just can't afford to just hope it's going to work out. We really need to have some better strategy than that.
Well, that's the thing that astonishes me, that, a bit like the NHS, that every October, November, somebody comes out and goes, it's a crisis for the NHS, winter's coming and, it's all going to shut down, it's all going to be terrible. And similarly with the energy market, you kind of go, well, surely if everything happens the same way every single year, where every winter we have a sort of shortage and a shortfall and a worry about prices going up, then you do something about it. But there doesn't seem to be anybody in government who has a clue about making that happen. As you've just explained, it's possible to create a better scenario vis-a-vis gas, possibly vis-a-vis heating oil, possibly by fracking, possibly by reopening, some fields and some drilling opportunities in the North Sea. There's all manner of things that they could do to pull the levers of success, as they talk about all the time, and yet they do nothing. They sort of sit there and go, the thing is, well, we can't really do anything about it. Well, of course you can bloody well do something about it. Do something about it. Change the system. Make it more consumer friendly. Make it cheaper, and make us less reliant upon international kind of issues whenever something happens.
Well, exactly. I mean, we have lots of gas and oil in the North Sea that we could extract. And people say something like, oh, it's a mature basin. Well, mature isn't the same as dead. Right. I would consider myself in my 6th decade now to be a mature person. I'm quite some way away from
retirement. You're definitely not dead.
And if somebody were to say,
you're not in your 6th decade,
decorate your house because you might die soon, I'd be like, I would be quite offended by that. So it's, and they're saying, oh, well, it's in decline. Well, yeah, so what? Like you get a new mine, and on day one you open the mine and it's immediately in decline because you started taking the ore out. You don't then go, oh yeah, it's in decline, we better close it. Right. You carry on going until you've got everything that you can economically extract. Right. Now, in the last year, Norway has made some really significant discoveries right adjacent to our sector of the North Sea. Now, some of those reservoirs will almost certainly extend into the UK continental shelf. But last year was the first year in decades that we didn't do any drilling. So we actually cannot add into our resources and reserves anything about those finds because we haven't done the work to prove that they are in our sector. But they almost certainly are. If we don't do anything, we're going to end up paying Norway to buy our own oil and gas from them.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy.
I know.
So, and also, technology is continually developing. So fields that were expected to have closed by now are still producing, and other fields which we've known about for a long time and originally sort of put to one side because they were too complicated and challenging, now are actually becoming more viable. So, there's actually a lot of oil and gas left that we could extract economically. Now, you also hear this thing where people say, oh, well, we sell it on the international market, so it won't make any difference. Well, first of all, that's not true for gas. The gas doesn't get sold on the international market. It comes straight into the British grid. Second of all, we earn huge amounts of taxes from producing oil and gas. Thirdly, that gas that we bring into the British grid displaces imports rather. If we import liquefied natural gas, as well as the gas, we have to pay for the cost of liquefying it, the cost of shipping it, and then the cost of regasifying it to put it into the gas grid. So all of those costs are avoided if you just produce your own gas and put it through your own pipeline into your own grid. So it's just not true to say we don't capture financial benefit. And then, of course, you've got a massive supply chain that supports the oil and gas industry. We're losing 1,000 jobs a month at the moment in the North Sea. And these are really highly skilled, highly paid jobs. Right. And a lot of those people are moving out of the country. They're going and getting jobs in the Middle East. They're going to the Gulf of Mexico. They're going to Africa. Because they no longer see the opportunities here, and so we lose again all of that economic benefit that comes from that. So it's just extremely foolish. And then the climate emergency argument, well, it's cleaner to produce your own than it is to import it.
Right. Well, I mean, there is a massive emergency going on, but it's not a climate emergency. It's just a massive kind of global emergency that we are now so tied in to what it seems to me to be, international kind of, remits, that we don't have any control over our own economy or over our own, country, because we're so reliant on keeping the lights on from other people, which is insane.
Well, I mean, everything. So we've lost our steel making capability. We've lost most of our refining capability. We've lost huge portions of our chemicals industry. And, all of this really undermines our national security. You look at the extent to which our defence forces have been eroded. Now, what would it take to build that up? If you wanted to build more warships, if we wanted to build more fighter planes, if we wanted to just build the support systems that go around that, the fueling capabilities and the maintenance capabilities and all of that stuff, we do not have those supply chains anymore. No. We've lost the fundamental manufacturing base that supports those industries. We cannot build, we need to build more power stations, more conventional gas power stations. There's a 7 to 8 year lead time to get new turbines. We can't make them ourselves. We don't have that capability. We don't make the steel that, so you could say, well, we'll build a turbine factory, but then we also need to build some steel foundries to provide the steel. So we have in recent decades, and I think the rots have started really with the end of the Cold War. We decided that existential threats had gone away. And in the meantime, we've just created this whole massive regulation, made everything more expensive, slower. It's just impossible to get anything done. And when you do identify, oh, well, we want to fix X, you can't do it because actually it turns out the government's delegated so many powers to other bodies that it no longer has control.
Yeah, I know. Absolutely shocking. I'm going to finish up with a question for you because we've got a poll going on. Which was initially inspired by Meghan Markle going to Australia, where people really don't like her, apparently. And so we said, who is the world's worst person, right? Here's your choices. Keir Starmer, Meghan Markle, Vladimir Putin, or Kim Jong-un?
Okay, well, I mean, I can see that lots of people are saying Keir Starmer there. Right, I mean, yeah, okay, I don't think he's the most impressive person in the world, but he hasn't invaded anyone. He's not going around poisoning people with
quite the reverse
substances.
He's been invaded a few times.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd have to say Putin on that list.
Okay,
I'm afraid.
all right.
But
Fair. That's fair. Absolutely fine. Thank you very much indeed. Catherine Porter there talking to us about a great manner of things to do with energy. Because energy, I mean, it's a bit like Mad Max, right? If you've never seen Mad Max, because you might be too young or you might be too old, but, you know, Mad Max is a story starring Mel Gibson about a world in which energy and oil and kind of, you know, the ability to capture it becomes the biggest thing in the world, because without it, you can't do anything. And so you've got this kind of mad apocalyptic world where nobody can do anything unless they've got energy. And the people who have got the energy are the most powerful people in the world. And that's how the story plays out. And then you've got, you know, Tina Turner's, you know, Pleasure Dome or whatever it's called, song that she did. And We Don't Need Another Hero or something. Anyway, is it Pleasure Dome? Yeah. Mad Max Pleasure Dome. And I mean, you know, we're not far away from it. Thunderdome. Yeah. That's it. Sorry, not Pleasure Dome. Pleasure Dome's that place in Waterloo. Sorry. Yeah, that's it. But, you know, the point is that, you know, we have to get a grip of our own energy supply. Because if you're not in control of your own energy, you are not in control of your own country. And that's kind of where we are. And Catherine's right to say that we should just be fixing it. We should just be making sure that we can get our own energy supply from the North Sea or from fracking or from, you know, something other than a foreign country, right? Cindy says this: thank you, Mike, for your honesty and being so humble. I've never been accused of that before. Humble, blimey. And we still haven't found your present yet, I don't think.
That's a good one, Mike.
This one here from Dave.
No, sorry, wrong one.
No?
Wrong one.
No, we've done that one. Dave the Rave, we've done that. HMS Starmer, fairly slow, does a lot of U-turns. This one from Easy Boy. Ask Robert what really can be done to get an election now. I love Stephen Barrett. Well done, Pooch, Charlotte and Mike. Yeah, thanks, Easy Boy. We put it together with as much love and care as we can. And Robert Jenrick coming in about 15, 20 minutes, I think, to answer your questions. So if you've got any, please do put them through to us. We've got the old map of various parts around the world where people are listening from. If you can add to that, please do. If you're in Southeast Asia, if you're in any part of Asia or South America or Africa or the United States of America, or even the high north, do let us know. This super chat from Mr. Woodward. Spot on about STARMER and try not to have clips. He's triggering as the clips come from the previous day. How about using an AI PM version? Same audio and a max headroom style visual. Well, you know, I think it's important to show the STARMER clips because it shows you and it illustrates just how bloody useless the guy is. And I think we need to be reminded of that every single day. And as much as I know that it annoys you, as much as I know that it's not easy, I think it's important. Right now, though, let us talk to our next guest, who is from Crowborough. Crowborough, of course, a part of the country in the southeast of England, which has been invaded. We were talking about invasions before, by a load of illegal migrants. They put them into a hotel there in Crowborough, which I think, I always get this wrong, I think is in Kent, isn't it?
It's close. It's on the East Sussex-Kent border.
It's Kent-Sussex border, yeah, exactly right. And so we're going to talk now to Liam from the Crowborough Says No campaign, basically. Liam says that we don't want them here. We don't wish to be unkind, but, you know, it's a problem. And so they've been having regular demonstrations, but it seems to no avail at the moment. Liam, tell us what's latest is. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike. Thanks for having us on. Yes, just to correct you, I'm no longer part of Crowborough Says No, unfortunately. I've stepped back and I'm just going to go out on my own now and do my own thing. I wish the guys well, and I hope they continue with their quest to stop this, and I will continue to join them. But we'll just, I'll be doing separate things from now on. But yeah, in answer to the question, we've been protesting every week, Mike. Big numbers, and we just haven't been listened to, which I think is a travesty, in all honesty.
No, exactly right. And I mean, do you have any kind of interaction whatsoever with either local councillors or local MPs? Do any of them even attend the demonstrations?
So there's two guys that are really, really good that do attend from the local council, and they are brilliant. Andrew Wilson and Michael Lunn, fantastic guys and really care about the community. However, we've got a Lib Dem Green Party coalition council, and they've been atrocious, in all honesty. We've got no information from them whatsoever. They haven't supported the legal bid by the Crowborough Shield. And I think, quite honestly, their behaviour has been shameful in all this.
Right. And so what's the current situation? As far as the hotel is concerned, how many, or it's not a hotel, it's a barracks, isn't it? I mean, how many, as far as you know, men have been put in there?
So it's an army camp, a disused army camp now that's been transferred into a migrant housing. There was a meeting yesterday with the local residents. When I say local residents, there's people that actually live like on the border of this camp, and they were informed that there was 170 people inside. I think the question is, there seems to be a lot of people going out of the camp, leaving the camp on their free bus, but very, very few returning.
Yeah.
Now we know these people have come from hotels, and I would question, are they going back to the hotels they were actually in before? They're staying there and then coming back 7 days later just to check in. It's something that we'll be looking into further.
Yeah, absolutely. And as far as monitoring of these people is concerned, and when they do leave the premises, are they going with sort of, escorts? Are they going in minibuses? Are they just walking around? I mean, how are they doing that?
So mainly they're going off in minibuses, and they're going off to another town, a town called Crawley, which is probably about 45 minutes away, roughly. Okay. And like I say, there's a lot going out and very, very few coming back. And I think that poses a question as to what they're doing, how they're funding that. And I think that's probably what we're going after next. In fact, there's a great page to follow migrants on the move, which is sort of tracking their movements.
And that's the other problem as well for an awful lot of people as to how it's possible for them to be able to sort of live a relatively happy and kind of subsidised life, if you like, because, we know that they're getting presumably well fed in the premises that they're staying in the barracks. They've been given money to presumably go out and visit Crawley to go and buy things. How many more of these people are going to be coming, and what's going to happen to them? Because one of the things, Liam, that I would be concerned about is that if there are, 400 people there, and they get moved on, where are they going exactly?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think that needs to be the transparency, isn't it? Like, I can't understand why they're allowed freedom to roam. If they're waiting for their asylum to be processed, why are they not locked down in this place? It's got the facility to lock it down. Yeah. There's no reason for them to leave. They've got all the facilities on site. They've got a gymnasium. They've got 3 meals a day. They've got table tennis. They've got pool. Right. I don't understand why they do need to be leaving. And obviously with more and more crossings imminent now, that's going to be a problem. And I think that's why you've got to get behind organisations like Raise the Colours to show your support to them and try and stop this invasion, which it is. Yeah, because as you say, there is clearly a pattern going on. I mean, we keep being told by Shabana Mahmood that, we're going to empty the hotels, we're going to put people into these barracks. But they're also saying we're going to grant more and more people asylum. We're going to try and process their claims quicker. They're not processing their claims in order to get them out of the country. They're processing their claims in order to keep them here. Exactly that. I don't see how her numbers work, Mike, in all honesty. We're going to have new people coming in. We're going to have less places to process them, but they're going to get it done quicker. I don't know. I can't make sense of that, I'm afraid.
No.
I think this government's in a mess. I think that's obvious to see for everyone.
Yeah.
And roll on 2029. But until then, we've got to do something as much as we can to protect our communities, protect our country as humanly possible.
And I mean, we hear an awful lot of different stories in the media, because many parts of the media would like to sort of try and point out that people like you are, wrong, bigoted, horrible, nasty, and most people don't really mind. They're welcoming people into their communities. I mean, do you ever come across anyone in Crowborough who goes, do you know what? Actually, this is great. We really like this. We love the idea that all these undocumented men have come in to this country and are staying down the road from us. And many of them might be criminals. Many of them might be sex offenders. We're really, really happy about it. I mean, do you ever meet anybody who says that?
Do you know what? We actually get a handful of people that turn up on a Saturday afternoon, and I don't know. I don't know where their head's at with it, Mike, because why would you want anyone unvetted in your community.
Yeah,
I don't think
exactly.
they live necessarily in Crowborough. I think they come from surrounding areas, which is fine.
Yeah.
But why take the risk? You know, you could lock this community down. You could keep it safe. You've got it's within your gift to do so at the camp that they put it on.
Yeah.
It just makes no sense.
No, it really doesn't. So what plans have you got for the next sort of week or 2 or 3 or 4 months or whatever it is? I mean, are you just going to keep demonstrating and hoping that somebody at some point will do something about it?
So I can continue to support the guys and girls in Crowborough and turn up and support them. I'm going to put on some smaller, like a tour of migrant hotel protests where we go along and support the local communities that are not getting so many numbers, because I think it's vitally important to support all communities that are suffering. And I'm going to work very closely with Ryan Bridge and Raise the Colours to try and put a permanent end to this. You know, that organisation has done more for national security in the last 6 months than this government has in the last 20 years. And I think that's the way forward now.
Right. And I mean, without wishing to intrude on, you know, private grief, what happened between you and the organisation that you know, just say no? We're involved.
Nothing major. I think it's just sometimes you can't always go in the same direction all the time, and I think sometimes you have to accept that it's best for everyone that one steps away and allows the other one to continue in the way that they want to go. And I wish them all the best, all the very best.
Okay.
They're doing great things, and yeah, like I say, I'll still be attending. It's just sometimes you've got to put your time and efforts elsewhere.
Okay, all right. Very diplomatic. It's like saying the United Nations down here at Crowborough. Bloody hell. Anyway, listen, Liam, great to see you. Thank you very much. Good to see you. Liam Comsett there, Tomsett, I should say, from formerly Crowborough says no. Now he's not so sure. Crowborough says, no, I'm not going to say it because I'm not allowed to swear. I've been told I can't swear, right? So I'm trying really, really hard not to swear. Coming up, Robert Jenrick's going to be here from the Reform Party. He, of course, is a former immigration minister, so we'll get his view on what's going on in Crowborough. But not just that, we'll also find out from him why Reform are absolutely championing a reduction in fuel duty and in fuel costs as well, of course, as we watch the independent energy markets going doolally as a result of what's going on in the Middle East. Also, we'll continue to take your calls. I'll open some more stuff as well. And we will continue to put some things on the map. We've got a new map here, which was sent in the other day, and see all of those little... the trouble is, Pooch, I don't know how to explain this, but we've got one black pin for Britain, and I'm not really... I can't really put any more in because it's so small. So if I was to do, for example, somebody in Scotland, I'm not sure I could get it in. You know what I mean?
Put a blue one above it.
Should we put a blue one above it? It's a Reform blue, right, which might upset people, but it's actually kind of in the North Sea, like there. What do you think?
Yeah, good.
I mean, I like the look of it. It looks really nice. Also, time for the news with the relatively sensible Edward Hughes.
Good morning. I'm Edward Hughes with your news. The escalating war in Iran dominates UK headlines, with Chancellor Richard III warning MPS that the conflict is putting upward pressure on inflation through surging oil prices, now over $100 a barrel after key energy terminals closed. Prime Minister Keir Starmer has cautioned the crisis could affect every household and every business, with Reeves indicating readiness to support releasing strategic oil reserves and to ease impacts. The UK is bolstering its military presence in the region, including deploying HMS Dragon towards Cyprus. Domestically, a major fire near Glasgow Central Station has destroyed retail units, leaving independent business owners heartbroken and causing train disruptions. MPS have rejected calls for the outright ban on social media for under-16s, opting instead for more flexible regulations. New V-level qualifications are being rolled out from 2027 to better prepare students for future jobs. Cold weather returns with snow forecast in parts of the country, while debates continue on anti-Muslim hatred definitions and protecting free speech. That's the main UK picture this Tuesday. Please remember to like and subscribe. Back to you, Mikey Boy. Latest Tigers.
I'm Mike Graham. And this is the Mike Graham Show. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is free. It doesn't cost you any money whatsoever. But if some of you, of course, don't like the adverts, we can always give you a way around that. What you can do is you can sign up for YouTube Premium, which means you'll watch it ad-free, or you can join our Substack, which is themikegrahamshow.com. And for £1 a week, you basically get to watch the show completely ad-free every single morning from 7 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. And it does really, really help us if you like the YouTube channel and if you subscribe to it as well. And that doesn't cost you a penny. So you can do that and push our subscription numbers up. We're already hitting over 5 million views. We've got 126,000 subscribers already, but we want to make that bigger and bigger and bigger because that really does help the channel. The adverts that do appear, of course, on YouTube are put there by YouTube, not by us. There may come a time when we schedule ads so that we know exactly when they're coming in, but do forgive us if you're watching the show and the adverts do come on. But as I say, we really, really want your support. We really, really value it. And if you can join our Substack for £1 a month, that would be great. If you just want to subscribe to the YouTube channel, that would also be great. Have we got any other messages, Pooch, for the good people? What they get on Substack is they'll get a little video from me every day about what I'm up to. Yesterday, I was on a tube train, and I'll tell you all about what happened then. Quite an interesting story. You'll also get little blogs. You might get an occasional recipe from me as well, maybe at least once a week. We're going to try and do that. And all sorts of other goodies that nobody else will see if they're not part of the Substack community. So do sign up to it, themikegrahamshow.com. Do sign up and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. It doesn't take any time at all. It doesn't cost you anything, but it pushes our numbers up and it really helps the channel. So thank you very much for your support so far. We're looking forward to going into our 5th week very soon. The first month of the Mike Graham Show has been a great success. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to Pooch. Thanks to Charlotte, who puts it all together behind the scenes. And we'll see you every single morning right here, Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Now, listen, some people are already saying I had shorter hair. No, listen, I had it trimmed this morning. We had somebody come in. I'm going to get it cut properly, right? Mike, your hair looks exactly the same as it did yesterday. Yeah, well, that's the trick, right? The trick is, if you can get your hair cut where it doesn't look like you've had your hair cut, that's the point. That's what I was saying. For 4 years of working at Talk, I had these two amazing Polish hairdressers, stroke makeup girls, who basically made me look amazing and had a completely different style for my hair. They used to sort of sweep it over that way, whatever. And I missed that. But the point is that I didn't have to do it. And nobody ever noticed that I had a haircut, because whenever they thought it was getting a bit out of hand, they would basically just say, we'll just give it a little trim. And they'd do the eyebrows, they'd do my ears, they'd do my, nose hairs. It was great. And then suddenly, I was obviously bereft. One of the many things that I missed about not being at Talk was the makeup people. Now they get to work with Kevin O'Sullivan and Julie Hartley-Brewer, who they hate, by the way. It's just one of those things. I don't really give anything away, but why would you? A couple of things that I'm opening here, which are great. Like, how about this, right? Look at that. Wow. Somebody's put together Ziggy, a heron, me with the Plonk of the Week scenario, and also the Mike Graham Show. And there's two of these, actually. A poem for Mike from K West. Labour are red, Tories are blue. The Greens and all others are pretty crap too. My sanity hanging on by a thread. Thank God for Mike Graham. I listen from bed. Brilliant. Viewers, tune in for your satire and wit, while our wonderful government don't give a Brit-loving citizens, taxpayers too, wake up in the morning to listen to you. News and all topics delivered with fun, while most of us planning escapes to the sun. An alternative spin for us folk with no hope, but Plonk of the Week certainly helps us all cope. Talk were so stupid to let your show go. Their ratings have now reached a mind-blowing low. They won't like that. Wishing you luck, Mike, in all that you do, and know we'd all love a pint down the boozer with you. That's great. Thank you so much. And that is from K West. Brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. Kay, thank you. And I've got another version here, which I presume came from you as well. We will put that up behind us, right? We'll put that there. Also, I've got this, right? This is a good an indication of the state of play in Britain, because I've got this package, right, which has been wrapped in cellophane, and on the back it says, "Our sincere apologies." From the post office. We are very sorry the enclosed item has reached you in this condition. Really? Are you? It says, if the contents are damaged or anything is missing, you may be able to claim for your loss. Please keep all packaging and contents and go to royalmail.com/claims to see if you're eligible to claim. You know, you got one job, right? Deliver the thing that somebody put in an envelope, which then got put into a post box, and which you were actually tasked with delivering, because that's what people pay you for, right? Somebody's obviously opened it because they thought there was money in it. I think that's what's happened. The scumbags at the post office have gone, oh, all right, maybe there's something in here it's worth having. And that's why it's been, oh, it's another tie. Hello. And they've opened it and gone, what the hell's this? It's another heron tie. Look at this. We've now got so many of these. That's nice, isn't it? Yeah. What do you think? It's also a good colour. So, but unfortunately, there's no message with it, so I can't say who sent it in. Should we do a bit of Mike Graham Show bumper sticker time? Because we've seen lots and lots of pictures coming in, which we will continue to publish, obviously, on social media. If you haven't got one of these yet, you might want to get one, and we'll give you the address to send a C5 envelope, which sounds more complicated than it is, but it's actually not. It's basically that size. It's that kind of, you know, regular size envelope, and because it will go in there, you see that? And a C5 envelope will incorporate the size of the bumper sticker, which I think is called A5, and we can give you the address. If you send a stamped addressed envelope to this particular address, we will dispatch a bumper sticker to you. And poor Pooch is like digging in a coal mine for this one. Yeah, it's a bit slow today, to be honest.
Yeah, it is.
We can't always control the speed of the internet, right? We saw Kelvin yesterday who said that he'd got the new high-speed internet from BT and it was actually slower than the one he had before. So here we go. The Mike Graham Show, P.O. Box 257, Battle, East Sussex, TN33 3FS. That's F for Freddy, S for Sugar. P.O. Box 257, Battle, East Sussex, TN33 3FS, and we will get one off to you as soon as we possibly can. Now, did you tell me that we had Romania coming up?
No, we've got, here we go.
Is it Romania?
We've got Bulgaria.
Central Europe is going to get pretty busy, right? So we've got one going in there. That looks like Bulgaria there. Yeah, that's good.
There we go, come up on screen.
Anything near kind of yeah, there we go. Burgas from Silla. Thank you very much indeed. Anything Melbourne, Australia. Oh, there, now you're talking. Now that I think is, now you know Australia better than me. Yeah. I've got Sydney, which is on the sort of right side of Australia. Yeah, Melbourne is kind of in that central part, isn't it? Is it like sort of there? Actually, that's black. I don't like that. Let's do a white one. Can't really see the black one. Melbourne, there we are. Melbourne, mate. Any advance on Melbourne? I mean, we know we've got people in the Middle East as well. Yeah, so look,
it's right at the bottom.
There we go. Melbourne. There we go. Bit further down than that.
At the bottom of that.
Oh, at the bottom of oh, okay, right, okay. That's what you're not. Sort of accuracy there, like that. Is that better?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, all right. What about Cape Town or South Africa? Something like Dresden in Germany. All right, that's a good one. All right, let's do that. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be a bit like the way it is when you get on the Jubilee line. There'll be thousands of people in Dresden. There we are. Oh, that's pink. We don't want that. Just get a green one. You ever been to East Germany, Pooch?
Yeah, I have.
Have you?
Yeah, I've been through all of that.
Okay. You didn't go with Diane Abbott, did you?
No, I went with a girl called Claudia Schneider.
Claudia Schneider. What a great name. Yeah.
There we go.
Japan. Fantastic. Here we go. That's off the coast of Russia. We'll have that. Japan. Fantastic. This is great. How great is this? We're looking for any advance on Japan. So anything sort of up here in that kind of neck of the woods, you know, Russia. New Zealand. Okay, that'll do. North Island, mate. That's off to the side there, isn't it? Yeah. North Island there. Very nice. This is fantastic. We need South America, right? So anybody in Buenos Aires or...
I'm not sure I believe this one, mate.
Santiago, North Pole. Where would I put that? Would I put that sort of up there?
Yeah, just put it up there.
Up there. All right. Okay. All right. Off the scale.
That's it.
North Pole. There you go. Like that.
There you go. My neck of the woods.
Italy. Italia. Lovely. Beautiful. See, that is already covered, but I can put a blue one in just on the boot. Which part of Italy are you from?
Florence.
Firenze, Florence, yeah. The place where they've got the most amazing Domo, they call it, don't they? Duomo. And the most incredible, the thing that I found amazing when I was in Florence was the incredible food market, which was undercover. And I was there during the World Cup, and I got to watch the football. I was there technically on my 10th wedding anniversary, but I managed to sneak away and actually watch the football. And watching football with Italians is one of the greatest things you can ever do. If you haven't ever done it, I recommend it, because they're so passionate about football, and they get it. You know, they're not like our kind of football fans. And I don't wish to diss British football fans, but you know, they can be a little bit kind of Neanderthal.
Mr. Jenrick, can we do
Are you going to go and get Mr. Jenrick? Okay.
Paper recap.
Are we going to do a paper recap? Yeah, we can do that. I've also got plenty of messages coming in, which I can read to you. Basically, the news this morning is this. Let me tell you. US bombers use British bases to attack Iran. That's page 1 of the Times. Ban the pro-Iran hate march, says the front page of the Daily Mail. More intense strikes are coming, says the Financial Times. That's page 1 of that. And warship sails off to the Med on the front page of the Guardian. Also, I mean, one of the things that I find incredibly ridiculous, right, is that we are now faced with and kind of, you know, looking at a world in which Britain seems to have less and less relevance. You know, HMS Dragon eventually set sail yesterday from Portsmouth, and it looked to all intents and purposes like a ferry. It didn't look like a frightening vessel. It didn't look like something that people should be afraid of. It didn't look like anything that the Iranians certainly would worry about. And it was kind of sad to see because, you know, as I've said before, there is a song which is called Rule Britannia. And it says, Rule Britannia, Britannia rules the waves. Britain never shall be slaves. And here we are with a ship which is not really fit for purpose, HMS Dragon, an aircraft carrier which doesn't really have any aircraft on it, which is now not going. The French literally representing the Europeans in the theatre of war. And Keir Starmer kind of standing at the sidelines going, well, we must talk about, you know, de-escalation of the military might of Iran. Well, they're not going to listen to you, mate. They're really not. It doesn't work. Instead, what we should be doing, surely, is building up the military that we used to have, making sure that if we do have 15 or 16 destroyers and or frigates, that they're actually fit for purpose and they're not sitting in dry dock. You know, it's like running a taxi company and having all your taxis in the garage going, actually, no, they can't run. And somebody rings up and goes, can you get me a car to take me to, you know, the West End for the night? No. Why? Well, because they're all in the garage.
Mike, should we do a Robert Jenrick walk on live?
I think we should. Robert Jenrick is here. Robert Jenrick, the Shadow Chancellor of the Reform Party. Robert Jenrick, very good to see you.
Hello, my friend. Nice
Welcome.
to see you.
So nice to see you. Welcome to the new abode. We've got.
There's a lot of Mike Graham memorabilia
here.
There's
a lot of stuff here. Yeah, I know. It's not like any other studio we've ever been in. We're sticking pins on a map at the moment. People are listening from all points, north, south, east, and west. This is a show we're doing live in Shepherd's Empire.
Very good.
Who the Foo Fighters have just played, by the way. But listen, great to see you.
My pleasure. Good to be here. And I'm pleased your show has been such a success.
It's really going well. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And we've had Richard Tyson, we've had Lady Cunningham on, we've had many Reform supporters on as well.
Very good.
We are at what seems to me to be a pivotal moment in history for the country, aside from anything else. You've had some interesting things to say about what we should be doing in Iran. So let's get straight to that, because I think it was the day before yesterday you put out a tweet that said, is it time now to stop the hostilities? Is it time to kind of get to grips with this, because ordinary people are suffering? I mean, it's nice to see the oil price coming down over the last 24 hours, but I personally, and I don't wish to make it about me, you know, but I've, like many people, got a pension, and I've watched it just going like that over the last sort of week, losing thousands of pounds. So I guess the question is, at the beginning, Nigel Farage and Reform, I think quite rightly, would have backed Donald Trump's, manoeuvres in Iran. But you're now saying, is it time to now ratchet it all back and maybe talk to the White House and say, can you calm it all down?
Well, look, the Iranian regime remains a wicked regime.
Yes.
And it has done over the decades so many things to harm our own people. Remember, it was the Ayatollah who's now dead, and the IRGC who were supplying the IEDs that were being used to blow up British servicemen in Iraq and Afghanistan. So there'll be families across the country who lost their loved ones as a result directly of the actions of that man and his regime. Right. And a world without Iranian nuclear weapons will be a safer world. But I want this war to come to an end now as quickly as possible, because I don't want the UK to be embroiled in foreign wars. And I'm very, very concerned. In fact, the thing I'm most concerned about is the impact on people here in the UK who are already feeling hard up, exactly as you say, before the conflict. Food prices, energy bills, wages are stagnating, under Rachel Reeves, the economy is going absolutely nowhere. And the last thing that they need is for this war to go on and for things to get much worse. And so we're calling for the war to come to an end. Ultimately, it's not within our control, is it? It's the United States and Israel who will dictate that. But what we don't want to see is any more harm to British consumers. And we're pushing the government to take action. Now, Nigel and I were up in Derbyshire yesterday. Yes. We commandeered a petrol station to make the point that she needs to cancel the big hike that she's got coming down the road in petrol prices. Are going to go up by 5p a litre later this year as a result of what she's got planned. And we've said, no, absolutely not. Make this another one of your U-turns, Rachel. And if you don't, then if there's a reform government, our first budget, we'll bring it down ourselves.
Yeah, and that's the problem, isn't it? Because, you know, you're not in control of events around the world because you're not in government, but the government doesn't appear to be in control of events around the world either. I mean, Keir Starmer now, with every sort of week that passes, I mean, I've been saying since about August of 2024, I can't believe that he's actually still in power. I can't believe that he's still the Prime Minister of this country. It's embarrassing.
Well, he has no influence. He has no influence on the world stage. He tweets out pictures of him doing phone calls and calling for de-escalation.
Right, and walking into rooms and you go, what's he doing?
No one is listening to him. And he has been humiliated. I mean, look what happened in Cyprus. We were tipped off that this was going to happen weeks ago. Then the US assembled the biggest armada of naval assets in the Persian Gulf Mediterranean in a generation. So he didn't have to be, Admiral Nelson to work out what was about to happen. And he didn't move a single ship into the region. And now I don't want those ships to be used for offensive action against Iran, but I do want them to protect our base. And so we had to evacuate the service families into hotels in Cyprus. And then we've got the indignity of Macron turning up like the hero in Cyprus. And understandably, the Cypriots are like, well, can we rely on the UK to protect us and our base? Do we want to continue to host the UK in this important base? So he is weak, he's vacillated, and he has embarrassed the UK. But what we've got to ensure now is we do what we can to actually bring down bills for people here in the UK, which is not hike taxes, drill for oil and gas in the North Sea. Stop importing gas from the Norwegian bit of the North Sea instead of using our own bit for the jobs, the tax revenues and the extra energy security that would flow from that. And we at Reform have also said this week, let's get rid of all of these net zero subsidies that exist at the moment, tens of billions of it, like the money that goes for a heat pump for your house.
And it makes people rich who are running these companies, right? It doesn't do anything for us.
There are people and businesses on the green bandwagon who have profited at the expense of working people. So hard up people paying their taxes to spend billions of pounds on these things. I mean, we'll give you an example. We said we should scrap the research that's going on to so-called carbon capture and storage. This is an unproven technology. It may never work. Even if it worked, it would be removing a tiny percentage of the carbon emissions from the atmosphere. Well, remember, the UK is only 0.8% of the world's emissions anyway. And that is going to cost us, in this Parliament, it's going to cost us £9 billion under Ed Miliband's plan.
It's a scam.
Scrap it. It's a total scam. Scrap it and use that money to bring down people's bills and taxes here in the UK. We say we're going to get rid of the electric vehicle grants that are out there at the moment. And these bans, these mandates on what cars can be manufactured and what people can buy. People should be able to buy whatever car they want. If they want to buy a diesel car because they think that's the car they want or the most efficient car, or they live in a rural area and it's the best car for them, let them do it. At the moment, and then I'll give you a telling fact about that grant. It's available for 40 different vehicles. Only one is assembled in the UK. So taxpayers are paying for that grant to help businesses elsewhere in the world, in the US, in Europe, in China, to assemble cars at the expense of cars being manufactured in the UK, British jobs.
Yeah.
That's wrong.
Yeah.
We're going to get rid of all that net zero madness, and with the money that we save, help Brits instead.
Okay. Going back to where we are at the moment, if you are living in a rural situation, and particularly those people in Northern Ireland who get forgotten about, if you are relying on heating oil, right? Rachel Reeves got up in Parliament the other day and said, we're going to have a meeting about it. We'll discuss whether or not we should subsidise
we've heard absolutely nothing since then.
But I'm slightly, as an old-fashioned conservative with a small c, I'm sort of slightly squeamish about the government subsidising people's energy bills. I didn't think it was a good idea when Rishi Sunak did it, and you were part of that government. What would reforms policy be if you were in government now and people were faced with, paying £700 for 500 litres of oil as opposed to, £300 a week ago? Would you subsidise them, or what would you do?
Well, I'd much rather do it through tax cuts, getting rid of these green levies and taxes that add to the cost of bills than these massive bailouts.
No, but I mean, if people come to you and
Rishi
say,
Sunak and Liz Truss did,
Right.
which cost hundreds and hundreds of billions,
Right.
and had a massive lasting impact on
Right.
inflation. The public finances are shot as a result of it. So I'm
but what I'm
nervous
saying
about
is,
doing
a family of four who haven't got a great deal of elasticity of money, they're suddenly faced with paying £700 instead of £300. What would you do for them today if you were in government?
Well, the first thing we said is about fuel. We would act now to reverse this increase in fuel. So that's not about oil, but it is about those same families in rural areas.
Yeah. That's about
filling up, but it's helping people across the country, particularly people,
But this is about
people in
that
rural
need to heat
areas.
their home and they can't do it because they're frightened of paying the money.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
Well, it's not an easy situation. I'm not in favour of a massive bailout to people, but it's one of the reasons why we've got to get the war to come to an end, doesn't it? Because the longer this goes on, the more that we're going to see these spikes. Oil prices do seem to be coming down somewhat now.
They have come back down to something
I think they're more like $70 or $80 a barrel now. But nonetheless, if you're filling up this week or getting your oil tank filled up this week, that's a huge cost. I mean, we've seen people where it's 100% more expensive than it was the last time that they filled up. So I don't, let's see what Rachel Reeves comes forward with in that respect. But I'd much rather do it through getting rid of the taxes than just another big splurge of public spending.
All right. And to go back to the Iranian sort of, war scenario, you just said that, you don't want British ships perhaps or British, assets involved in attacking Iran. But we played actually 2 days ago an interview Richard Tice did with Al Arabiya out in Dubai, in which he said that reform would back US policy more or less willy-nilly, carte blanche. If Iran was being attacked by America, we would join in. So
I think what
seems
Richard,
like a slightly different
I think what Richard
point.
was saying was that we should allow the bases to be used because that's been a cornerstone of our defence, having this partnership with the United States. And many of these bases are joint bases, like the one in Diego Garcia that Star wants to give away to Mauritius. And we should be allowing the US to use it. We should have frankly done that from the very beginning. But Nigel, I was sat with him at a press conference just after the war began, was clear, no British troops on the ground. The idea of boots on the ground was completely, we don't have any armed force at the moment, so
we don't.
Whose boots would it be? But I don't think it's in British interests to have us involved in offensive action. To me, reform is a party for working people. It's not a party for war. We don't want to be embroiled in wars far off in the world. It's not to say that there may not be value in those conflicts, and if the US can get rid of nuclear weapons in Iran, then that is doing the world a favour, including helping our own security. But I don't think Britain should be deploying our troops and unnecessarily endangering our servicemen and women. We should be very cautious for deploying British servicemen and women in operations overseas, and that is the approach that reform would take.
So presumably you wouldn't go along with what Boris Johnson said a few weeks ago on Laura Kuenssberg's show about sending sort of peacekeepers, as he called them, to Ukraine.
I thought that was irresponsible, what Boris said, and ill thought through.
Right.
The idea that we should be sending British servicemen and women to a war zone, or at least a conflict, a country where a war is still ongoing, even if it's parts of the country that are far away from the front line, seems to me to be unwise. And particularly given we have so few servicemen and women, so little equipment, if you are taking those people away from the other duties that they are doing, for example, in places like Latvia, in NATO countries on the border with Russia, then you may find that you actually weaken NATO, not strengthen it. And I do think there's some chutzpah from some of these people. And obviously, I was part of the last Conservative government, so I'm not completely absolve myself of criticism. But these prime ministers allowed our armed forces to be depleted to this pitiful state that they are today. I mean, the last Conservative government spent £150 billion on foreign aid, and yet cut the defence budget in real terms. That is a dereliction of duty. Let's be honest, maybe it's with the benefit of hindsight, but let's be honest about what happened there. And we must never be in that situation again.
Okay. And you've been in reform now for several months. I mean, time flies.
Well, it's not quite
right?
as long as that, but yeah, a couple of months.
Time flies,
it feels
right?
like
I've lost all track of time. It's a bit like during COVID, you kind of go, what happened then? How many years was it? 2, 3, 4? How are you finding your new role? How are you finding working within a party which is obviously inexperienced, described by many as a kind of a sort of a cult of personality behind Nigel Farage? I'm not one of those who thinks that, by the way. But I also see the way that people are treated who are from reform. There is a kind of, I would say, nastiness about some of those who oppose you. They don't just disagree with you. They call you Nazis. They call you right. How are you finding being part of reform?
Well, it's been very positive so far. Thanks, Mike. I've enjoyed working with Nigel.
Yeah.
You've known him for longer than I have, actually. I found him to be extremely hardworking, honourable, somebody of real conviction, and the energy and momentum that there is within reform is incredible. To come from the Conservative Party, which, let's be honest, feels like a dead party at the moment. It's certainly in the places I represent, like the East Midlands, it feels irrelevant now. And the choice is so clearly between Nigel and Reform and Labour, and maybe Labour in coalition with the Greens. So it's very inspiring to be part of something that's got that sense of energy and momentum. And it's just basically a group of people who've come together because they're worried about the state of the country and they want to fix it and turn it around. You're right to say that there are people who demean Reform, who describe them as, us as populists or even worse, bandy these labels around. But they're really demeaning the British people because they have to ask themselves, why is Reform ahead in the opinion polls? Why has it been ahead in 250 opinion polls? If not that it's tapping into a very deep sense in the country of frustration, disillusionment, and a desire for change. And those people in the mainstream media, in the old parties who say that, including people who I worked alongside for many years, they could not be more out of touch with the real view of people out there in the country who you give voice to on your programmes.
And do you think that there is a kind of change of the political system going on? I mean, I'm going to ask you in a minute about the Green Party, because I worry a lot about where they're coming from, who they're appealing to, how so many people appear to be buying into their kind of what they're selling, which seems to me to be pretty hate-filled, kind of nasty, based on toxic.
Well, they don't seem to talk about green issues very much anymore. I mean, I never agreed with them on net zero, but at least they had a position which some people could support. Yeah. Actually, what you're seeing is a pretty nasty sectarian type of politics coalescing around the Greens. You saw a lot of that in the by-election up in Manchester the other day, and that's a bleak place for our politics if we go down that route and they begin to win these constituencies in the country where people are voting predominantly on religious lines. And we've got to fight against that. It's come out of massive complacency because the Labour Party thought they could take voters like the Muslim voters for granted, and they found out they can't.
Well, I've said the only thing that's green about them now appears to be the Hamas bandana that they wear around their heads as they go into each of these issues.
But the big danger, Mike, I mean, we mustn't laugh about it, because the next election, I think, is going to be a choice between Reform or a coalition of the left.
Yeah.
And if you had, say, STARMER's been booted out and replaced by Ed Miliband or Angela Rayner, and they're in coalition with Zach Polanski, if you think the state of the country today is bad, just imagine what that's like. I mean, people will be leaving the country in droves, and those of us who would never dream of leaving will be in despair. So that is why I ultimately chose at the beginning of the year to get behind reform, to rally behind Nigel, because I think it is the only chance to fix the country.
Okay. I know you've got to rush off. Final question, because somebody asked me to ask you this. Is there any way that you can force an election before 2029?
Well, no. I mean, ultimately, the choice is the Prime Minister and the Labour parties. But it's not impossible that something might happen earlier. If Starmer goes, you then get somebody else come in who's even worse, and through sort of failure, exhaustion, and the financial markets taking fright because they just have no confidence that this government is able to pay its way, that it tips into a general election beforehand. But, I mean, maybe we have to hope for that. But that election will come about in the worst possible circumstances for the country, and the state of the country will be even more severe than it is today, which is why we've got to fix things. And I'm not a pessimist. I think that we can actually turn this around. Yes, there are some things that are very bleak at the moment, but can we get the economy going again? Yes. And I've seen examples around the world where there's catch-up growth, get the right people in, create a sense of excitement, win investors back into the UK, give people here a break from the bills. Then I think you can get things going again pretty fast.
Well, it happened here in the 80s. I was part of it. Couple of quick comments. Do we have time? If we have them. I'm not sure whether they're good or not. We'll see. But, £300 billion on benefits, says Benny. I mean, something's got to be done about the benefits bill, hasn't it? Because that is absolutely...
Yeah, and I do not want reform ever to be a party of welfare. We're a party of Alarm Clock Britain, by which we mean people who are getting up early, listening to your programme on the way to work. Those are the people we should be supporting, not people who are choosing to be on benefits. That's one of the reasons why we changed the policy on the 2-child benefit cap to say, like, if you're a responsible parent who's, say, choosing to stop at 2 kids because you can't afford to have 3, 4, 5, 6, then you shouldn't see the person next door to you living a life of Riley on benefits, getting thousands of pounds for that. So reform will be for working people, not welfare.
Okay, brilliant. I think that's it. We haven't got any more. I'm sure there are more, but we'll get into those later. Robert,
very good. Well, nice to see you, sir.
Nice to see you.
And good luck with the programme.
Well,
glad to see it's doing so well.
I mean, we're very happy. We've only been doing it for 2 months, really.
But you're getting massive views.
We're getting massive response, big numbers. We're the biggest YouTube breakfast show in the country after 2 months. We're starting a new channel, which is going to involve people like Kelvin McKenzie, Russell Quirk's going to do a show. We've got all sorts of plans with Guido Fawkes possibly joining us. There's going to be... Great. Well, we're going to be creating
and it's nice and cosy in
Isn't
here,
it lovely?
I have to say, yeah.
And what's your view of herons? Because...
not a big fan of herons.
Really?
Yeah, I've got a pond.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. The reason we've got herons here is because I went... In the midst of my kind of, trauma as I was leaving talk and not sure what I was going to do next, I suddenly walked out, and I live not far from Canary Wharf, and there was this massive heron sitting on a fence.
You obviously don't have fish, or else you wouldn't.
No, I don't.
Be such
Well,
a fan
I live in
herons.
a flat in London, right? and the mother of my children said maybe it was sent to you, because then it turns out that herons are actually a harbinger of good things and new beginnings and all of this. And I thought, this is interesting. And I looked into all the sort of cultural heritage of herons, and around the world there are sort of rumours and stories about them and legends. And I thought, this is a really interesting. So I sort of happened to mention it.
So the heron is now the Mike Graham symbol.
Yeah, and so people keep sending herons. So we're going to have to get a new studio because this one's full of herons. But listen, really good to see you,
Lovely
Robert.
to see you
Hopefully
too, yeah.
see you
Good luck with
soon.
everything.
Say hello to the guys at Reform.
And
we will be back after this with Susan Hall from the London Assembly.
Good morning. I'm Edward Hughes with your news. The escalating war in Iran dominates UK headlines, with Chancellor Richard III warning MPS that the conflict is putting upward pressure on inflation through surging oil prices, now over $100 a barrel after key energy terminals closed. Prime Minister Keir Starmer has cautioned the crisis could affect every household and every business, with Reeves indicating readiness to support releasing strategic oil reserves and to ease impacts. The UK is bolstering its military presence in the region, including deploying HMS Dragon towards Cyprus. Domestically, a major fire near Glasgow Central Station has destroyed retail units, leaving independent business owners heartbroken and causing train disruptions. MPS have rejected calls for the outright ban on social media for under-16s, opting instead for more flexible regulations. New V-level qualifications are being rolled out from 2027 to better prepare students for future jobs. Cold weather returns with snow forecast in parts of the country, while debates continue on anti-Muslim hatred definitions and protecting free speech. That's the main UK picture this Tuesday. Please remember to like and subscribe. Back to you, Mikey boy. Latest Tigers.
Edward Hughes there with the news. Robert Jenrick, the Shadow Chancellor, as he's called in Reform, just spoke to us there. Susan Hall is with us now. She's the former Conservative leader, of course, of the Conservatives in the London Assembly. A thorn in the side, I'm happy to say, of that ghastly man, Sadiq Khan. And, Susan, great to see you. Welcome to the new show, because we haven't been able to get you on before.
No, well, it's really good to see, and it's good to see you doing so well, Mike. I'm really pleased for you.
Thank you
very much. And I agree with Robert about the herons, because I've also got a pond. And the thought of herons near our ponds is not a good thing. So anyway.
No, I accept. But you see, the great thing about people on the right side of politics is that we can actually indulge each other and have a difference of opinion without, kind of wanting to get each other arrested or, shut down or told to shut up. You are actually allowed to disagree with me, and I won't go, well, that's it then, I'm not talking to you. We've got, obviously, these huge, and funnily enough, I was talking about you the other day to somebody who was singing your praises. I'm not going to tell you who it was because I don't want to embarrass them. But we've got these new elections coming up in May. I'm assuming London Assembly and or Sadiq Khan are not up for grabs on this one, are they?
No, we're not. We've got another 2 years. It's 2 years since I stood for mayor, Mike. It seems like a lot longer than that.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got Sadiq Khan for the next 2 years. Please God, he will be replaced after that.
Well, that would be nice, wouldn't it? And what do you think of the state of politics in London? Because we've got Layla Cunningham, who's going to run for Reform. I don't know who the Conservatives will put up. Are you saying that might not happen?
Well, I'm hearing all sorts of rumours that perhaps she won't. I don't know.
Oh, really?
Because obviously I'm not in the Reform camp, so I don't know. But there are all sorts of rumours flying, and we don't know who else is going to be put up, do we? So we'll have to wait and see, really. I imagine that most parties will have people in place by Christmas, but then we'll see what's happening. But as for politics in London, I mean, in all the years I've been campaigning, and they are many, I have never been as uncertain about outcomes as I am at the moment. We're hearing that there's lots of Greens and lots of Reform out there, but I've been knocking on doors whether people just aren't telling us. I just don't know. It's wild at the moment. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Yeah.
And I mean, the state of the Conservative Party is such that, as you just heard Robert Jenrick say, it looks like a dead party. You've been a member of the Conservative Party for many, many years, and you've been a very significant part of it in London. Do you worry that it's a sort of existential problem now for the Tories, that, no matter how Kemi Badenoch might look, and no matter how better she might sound at Prime Minister's questions, the Tories are kind of dead in the water?
No, Mike, we're really not dead. If you belong to the associations, we're not dead, and we're really quite excited about going forward. We've admitted that we got things wrong, and we did. And so you brush yourself down and start building up again. And that's what we're doing. If you look at the Green Party, I mean, the Greens, they were the hug-a-tree, happy sort of environmental folk who lots of us didn't agree with their policies, but they weren't dangerous. Now, I'm sorry, after the meeting we had on Thursday, when one of the assembly members, the Green Assembly members, actually turned around and said that you can more or less do anything in civil unrest as long as you agree with the cause. Right. Well, we shouldn't be daubing Winston Churchill's statue with Gaza and God knows what else. And I'm sorry, I was absolutely astonished at what she said last week. And that's the way the Greens are going. They're going in a quite dreadful direction.
But shouldn't we be worried about that? Should we not kind of, look at that and say, that's not normal behaviour? Because, as you say, the Greens' policy on most things is completely nuts, right? They want to legalise all drugs. They want to legalise brothels, prostitution. They want to make it illegal for you to have a dog unless you've got a licence for it, and they don't like certain dogs. pandering to the Muslim community. They don't want you to be able to eat meat willy-nilly. They want you to have to sort of, account for why you want to do that. They want open borders. They don't believe in having any kind of nuclear deterrent. I mean, I can't believe that so many young people, for example, actually like what they're saying.
I can't believe it either. The Greens before, I've always had a slight affection for, because, we must look after our environment. There is no question about that. But the way they're going now is literally frightening me to death, because they are so dangerous.
Yeah.
And, I cannot believe Conservatives that believe in what we do could ever go over to Greens, because they're not the environmentalists. They hardly talk about the environment. They talk about Gaza. Everything is about Gaza, and Gaza flags everywhere, daubing Gaza on Winston Churchill's statue. It's absolutely outrageous. And for them to justify it because, if they're fighting for a cause they believe in, then they can do what the hell they like. No, they damn well can't. I feel so strongly about this.
Yes, and you're right too. But is there anyone else in the Tory party who talks like you do? Because, you're very strong this morning on the existence of the Tory party, the continued importance of the Tory party. But I don't hear that really from many Tory MPs. I mean, I don't get Tory MPs coming onto this show telling me, we're full of remorse, we're ready to fight back, we're going to form ourselves into the next government. They're a lot of them seem to be in kind of denial of where they are.
No, to be honest, I don't think they're in denial. I think we've said sorry. We've said we've got it wrong. And you could, at some point, you have to stop saying that. And we're actually doing a lot of work. If you look at Kemi, she is leading from the front, and that's where true leaders should lead from. She has said sorry. We are now looking at other policies, and no policy is coming out without it being looked at. I mean, just look at the U-turns from this Labour government. I think we're on 16, 17, maybe more. Some of the U-turns, thank God they've done, but actually you should think a policy through properly. People go on about us being in charge for 14 years.
Yeah.
Well, they were in opposition for 14 years. If I had years to work out what I'd do to make the world better, or certainly Britain, because that's all I'm worried about, Britain, then they should have been able to have come in with thought out policies, with costed policies. Instead of that, they've come in and it's more or less, oh, what do we do now? And of course, they then think of a quick policy and then they have to U-turn. Well, the markets don't know what's going on. Us as just normal people don't know what's going on. Sir Keir Starmer mentioned something one day, then suddenly it's into law, or they're thinking of it going into law, and then the next minute it's pulled. It's because it hasn't been thought out properly. The national insurance hike on employers was the most ridiculous thing they could ever have done, because they kept saying, we're going to aim for growth. Great. I was pleased about that, because we've really got to grow the economy. And then the first thing you hear is that they're going to up national insurance for employers. All that does, and I've employed people for over 40 years, all that does is make people think, right, I cannot afford people at the lower end very often, who you're going to have to nurture and train and do all the work with. If their basic wage goes up, the national insurance contributions for you as an employer goes up, you may as well employ somebody that's got experience. And that means our poor youngsters don't get experience, because nobody will give them a chance at the beginning.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm ranting, but I'm so cross with this
ranting is good. No, listen, ranting is good, because, I mean, that's what our viewers and listeners expect from you, Susan. I've got a great note here from South London Sarah. South London Sarah says, I love Susan Hall, but I could never vote for the Tories again. How did they get it so wrong? And I think that's part of the problem, because, you're right. You look at what Starmer's doing and the Labour government are completely useless. It's like nobody's in charge of the train. The clattering train is literally clattering down, at high speed down the track, and there's nobody in charge of, nobody's in the cab driving it. The worst thing about the Tories is there was somebody in the cab driving it, but they drove it also into a dead end.
Well, we did make mistakes. There's no question. Kemi's admitted to it. But now we're thinking out policies. Sometimes when the spotlight is off you, the spotlight was on the Conservatives for years. And and it's very hot under that spotlight, let me tell you. So now we're not in the spotlight anymore, and we are taking time to work out and make sure we have proper costed policies and look at the implications. Sometimes you throw a pebble into a pond and the ripples go far further than lots of people think. We've got a new leadership. We're heading in a different direction. And one of the things we also ought to remember, Mike, is these civil servants that advise ministers, most of them, I would suggest almost all of them, have never been in the private sector. They've never run businesses. So they give advice to these Labour politicians who equally have never run businesses or know how anything works. So no wonder we're getting a catastrophe. We're not getting people that have been in the private sector. We're not getting views on how the real world works. And civil servants, I often wish that we didn't have so many that started straight from uni, worked all the way through, because they've got no idea on how the rest of us live.
Exactly right. And isn't it more than just about proving the point that you can have a policy which is properly funded? Because we heard all that before from the Labour government, and obviously it was complete and utter cobblers, right? But, I worry that the Conservatives went wrong because they started following things like net zero and things that I know that you personally don't agree with, but you sort of have to go along with because it's saying, government policy. Net zero, the kind of open borders policy, the migration policy, the kind of, Boris wave where he said, it's going to be great. We're going to get all these kids coming in to study here and then they're all going to learn and make universities rich. Then they're all going to go home. Well, they didn't go home. They came here because they wanted to stay here and they're still here and they're all on benefits. And, and the Tory party lost its way for me somewhere around about 2015 when they decided that immigration, net zero and welfare was the three things they were going to concentrate on. Completely wrong.
I think we became far too woke. I think Kemi thinks this too. I mean, and she is a new leader and we are in a different direction, thank God.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think we're far too woke. We should have absolutely clamped down on our borders. I mean, most of us voted to come out of the EU because we wanted to protect our borders. We wanted to make our own decisions. That's why I voted for Brexit.
But it got worse.
Well, I certainly accept things are not good. And with the other thing we've got to look at is we did have the war in Ukraine. We've had all sorts of grenades thrown at us, but we should have stood firm. We didn't. We know where we've gone wrong, and Kemi is leading us out of that. And to that lovely lady that sent that kind message in, and forgive me, I think it was Sarah, but I've forgotten her name. Thank you very much. And I do hope we can prove to you and many others that we're heading in a different direction. We've got our conservative values back. And, we will rise up again. And absolutely.
Okay. And if you're not going to do it, if you're not going to run, and I don't blame you for not doing it for all sorts of reasons against the ghastly Sadiq Khan, who's going to be the Conservative candidate, do you think, in the next London mayoral election?
I don't know, Mike. I think they'll be looking at that after the locals. I just don't know.
Okay.
But he's got to be beaten. He's damaging our beautiful city so badly. He should be funding the police service properly, and he is not. All of us want to feel safe, and those of us with children and grandchildren want our loved ones kept safe. And with the way that the police, the Metropolitan Police, is being depleting, that is going to get worse and worse. And he's the police and crime commissioner, but he doesn't take that seriously at all.
No.
There's so many things that need changing. You hear me rant on anyway, and I'm sorry about that.
Listen, if it was up to me, he'd be going through Traitors Gate and into the Tower of London for the rest of his life. In the in the Prince's Tower. Sorry, he makes me he upsets me so much I start sneezing when I talk about him. Anyway, listen, Susan, great to see you. Now, listen, you're going to have to come in and see us here. We're in a very central part of London, which I'm not going to say exactly where because we don't want hordes of fans turning up. But we'd love to have you in. And Pooch, who's my producer and boss, says, wants to ask you a question. Do you like dogs? Because we always finish the show with a little video about dogs. Pooch is Pooch.
Absolutely love dogs.
Do you?
I really love dogs.
All right, well, have a look at this before you go. Check it out. He's amazing. What sort of dog is he? They say, I think, don't they? He's some kind of mountain dog or something. He's so big.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Oh, man. He's just amazing.
Oh, look at the size of it. Whether they're big, whether they're small, they
Isn't he
are.
great? I know. I mean, I've got quite a big Labrador, but that thing is some kind of mountain. It's some kind of mountain dog. I'm not quite sure what kind. But what we do is we always finish the show with that, because no matter how terrible life is, and no matter how awful the politicians are, and how dreadful the crime stats are, you look at a picture of a dog and you just think, actually, you know what? I can go on. I can actually look forward to tomorrow.
Yep, you're so right. I watch it's Ziggy, isn't it? I watch your videos with him. Lovely.
Yeah. He's Ziggy. Yeah, he's amazing. He's amazing.
Yeah.
Listen, there he is. That's me at the weekend a couple of weekends ago. He's just amazing. They are fantastic. Anyway, listen, Susan, so good to see you. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. And
thank you for inviting me.
no, not at all. And you know, do come in, and we do a show called Plonk of the Week on a Friday, where we actually taste.
Nominate.
We taste no, not Plank of the Week. No, this is Plonk of the Week. This is where we taste wines and champagnes and things. So you should come in and do a bit of that.
Yeah,
We
definitely.
get a bit tiddly before lunchtime on a Friday. It's very good. All right, great to see
Wrong
you.
with that.
Susan
All right,
Hall,
good
thank
to
you
see
so
you as
much.
well.
Former
Take
leader
care.
of the Conservative Party in the London Assembly, and a fine woman, very fine woman, who, for some reason, I can't believe how, didn't beat Sadiq Khan the last time she ran against him. But listen, we've had another amazing show. We've got this cork board here, which was sent in earlier. We've got loads and loads of little stickers and little pins all over the place. We're looking for Morocco. Oh, hello. Hang on a sec. Morocco. Let's go. Where are we going to put that? That's there, isn't it?
My sister's in Morocco at the moment.
Is she?
Yeah.
Pooch's sister in Morocco. Yeah, there's Morocco there. That gives us a bit more of a reach.
No,
That's from.
Morocco's over on the left.
Hey? What you mean? What you mean more towards Spain?
It's on the left side of Africa.
All right. Okay. Hard left.
Hard left, yeah.
Far left. Right. All right. I'll put it there. How's that then? Is that better?
No, it's further down to the left.
I've just put it like just across the way from the Straits of Gibraltar.
You talk to the
Further down? Is it like there?
Yeah, a bit further over.
A bit further over. I thought it was kind of there.
No.
Is it down there?
Nigeria.
Okay. Well, like there.
Yeah, kind of.
How's that? All right.
That's good.
I can't believe I'm getting told off by Pooch about my geographical lack of knowledge, but there we are. A couple more super chats. One from, that was Geordie in Morocco. This is Jolly Choo Choos. Please ask Jenrick about the proposed £20,000 tax threshold. Why was it not in his speech? Sorry, I didn't see that before he left. Not anybody's fault. Ask Robert Jenrick, what is the plan for non-integrated areas in Britain that have developed over the last 30 years? I think it's impossible to change without some kind of incentive scheme. Well, you know what? We're going to have more dialogue with these guys, and next time I get him in, we'll be better at getting your questions to him. We need Reform MPs to propose a law that states prospective parliamentary candidates can only publicise and campaign on issues where Parliament can materially affect change, says Mr. Woodward. Interesting. And loads and loads of you have got so much to say that's interesting. Last one is, love the informality mixed with the issues, mixed with humour. Love it, Mike. Pooch and Charlotte, thank you. And that's from Seaside Babe. That's a good name, isn't it? Seaside Babe. I wonder which part of the seaside she's on. Also, we've had loads and loads of you applying for bumper stickers. Of course, if you want one, that's a package that's just been picked up at the PO box, right? Post from Outer Hebrides for the map. I've just had a piece there. And Outer Hebrides. The trouble is that's also like. Hang on, it's upside down. Hang on, here we go. Outer Hebrides. I think I've sort of got that covered really, but I'll do that. That's in the middle of the bleeding North Sea. Here we go. So yeah, listen, we're populating. Oh, here one. Good morning from Algarve in Portugal. Okay, let's give that a bit of a green screen thing here. I know where that is. That's down there. This is great. I really like this. Is great, good fun actually. There you go. Look at that. What I need is more. I need more people in South America. I need more people in North America, Canada, Greenland would be good. The high north, as they call it, and anywhere sort of east of Bosnia, effectively east of former Yugoslavia would be good. Turkey, Greece, that kind of thing. Yeah. Capital of Greenland. No idea. Milk? Milk. What I can tell you is only 56,000 people live there, and it's the only part of Denmark that's got mountains. I like it. Right? So I got some trivia for you. Look at this, it's 9:37. We've given us 7 minutes of extra innings. Should we just go straight on and do plank of the day?
Let's just do it now.
Might as well do it now.
Content. Here we go.
Okay.
Hello, it's plank of the day time.
Now, the good news is that we're doing plank of the day. The bad news is I've completely forgotten who it is that we're going to be doing. However, all I've got to do is look it up. Oh, here we are. Oh, yeah, this is it. Yes, it's her. It's Megan. Now, Kelvin McKenzie yesterday suggested that what we should do is get it down here and just start hitting it with a hammer. Completely smash the plate. This is not a bad idea. We're not going to do it today. This is the royal engagement and marriage of Harry and Meghan, 2018. Okay. Look at that. What an absolute nightmare. Imagine being married to her. How awful would that be, right? Anyway, so apparently she and he, who dare not be named, are going to Australia. And apparently one of the reasons they're going to Australia is to get away from America while King Charles visits, which is apparently going to happen in April, right? She's going to attend an exclusive gala dinner.
Something's frozen, Mike.
Oh, okay. Should we just,
we just end it. Sorry.
Stop and come back? All right, that's no problem. This gives me a chance to find the piece that we were doing anyway. Is that the Telegraph? I think it is. Curse of Meghan.
It is a curse. Mm-hmm. That's weird. I think we're just going to end it here and then we'll record it, okay?
Yeah, that's fine.